Hey, what's up? Welcome back to PJ's Son, your old buddy Dom. This is episode 16. We're getting our driver's license soon. You got your ringer off?
Yeah.
Okay. Today is a fun and it's a real special one for me. I've got my buddy Brady doing the podcast with me. Brady, say hey.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going fucking a whole lot better. Brady and I had an experience Friday afternoon that I wanted to get on here and tell you guys about, and I thought it'd be cool. We thought it'd be cool to kind of get like that perspective from both of us. So Brady used to live a couple houses down. He and I and Pat, who you guys know, he came on here. We're all neighbors. So Brady and his family moved out a few years back up the highway a little bit. And, but we've all still kind of kept in touch and hung a few times and shit like that. Brady living here, you were always, how long have you been hunting your whole life pretty much?
No, I probably started, high school, like early high school, late
Okay.
middle school, and really got into it, late high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you born and raised? Where are you? You're not from right
St.
here.
Charles. Yeah.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
You
12
just
minutes.
always had property.
Yeah. So
out in the country.
we own, family owned land, up north.
Okay.
So yeah.
So when you lived here, folks at home, when Brady lived here, he always had his bow out and his block out, and he was always shooting and always bringing home deer and total outdoor guy. So you guys all know my history. Born and raised single mom. Hunting was just never really introduced to me other than my friends. As I've told you guys, I always had a huge respect for animals, hunting, conservation, the whole thing. It was even more important to me growing up because I knew, you know how you had those buddies. If you started in high school, Brady and I just had this fucking whole talk in a deer blind the other day. But growing up, like the Jenkinses, they would all hunt, right?
Yep.
So when they would get home from a cool weekend, generally they all kind of processed their own meat. So we were eating, like when they got back on Sunday, we were over there eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody would get invited, but I don't know. It was something weird. Like they could tell who took it kind of serious, And I just always knew how much work went into it and like the respect level. So
Sure.
to me, when I got invited over to shit like that, I was always just so grateful and thankful and everything. I had the opportunity, my first hunt a couple years ago, I got a doe. My buddy Adam that I worked with invited me up to some property that he manages in Rawls County.
Yeah.
So it's right outside of Louisiana area,
Yeah.
right?
So I'm in Lincoln County.
Okay.
And then north of us, you have Pike, and then you have Rolls.
Okay. So it's up there somewhere, and I don't know
Yep.
where it is, but he manages.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you the story a little bit like Brady. He manages some property up there. So, we had always talked about hunting, and all the guys I work with are country ass dudes. So they're all hunters. And it was always something I was into. And then I've told you guys the Steve Rennell and stuff. So, so a couple weeks ago, Brady and his family, a couple weeks ago.
Last Friday.
Yeah, that's right. Because
Yeah.
opening day was,
This next morning. Yeah. Yeah.
it was coming.
Yeah, we were out till midnight, and I got up at 4 a.m. the next morning to go out.
But that story is probably like across the board for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Because they're jacked Friday night to get up.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, in the past, with my family now, everybody's kind of spread out. We used to do the whole like not deer camp, but like my brothers and I would all be in town. We'd all be up at the farm doing that, drinking beer,
Yeah.
doing whatever, staying up way too damn late,
Yeah.
get up way too damn early.
I think that's so rad, though. The whole
Yeah.
family dynamic and everybody
yeah.
hanging. I think
Yep.
that's so fucking
It
cool.
was, dude. It was just, it was a story swap, and
Yeah.
and it was the same fucking stories
Absolutely.
every time,
Absolutely.
every year.
That's how it's gotta go.
You've heard 1,000 times, but you still laugh.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're all down at Pat's house the other night. Brady and his family came over. Alicia and I went down, and we were talking. And I know that I had told you that I had hunted a couple times, but
Yeah.
Brady, he had asked, "Hey, are you going?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I just, and this is the truth about it, folks, is that having property, it's a must. And of course, there's public,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but like."
That's
Being so novice that I am, I don't, it would take a lot of planning, which I'm not against, but it's
Right.
like, that's a whole thing.
Publix probably, you want to talk about putting in the work.
Yeah.
if you really want to get after it on public, you got to work. I mean, you got to get in deep and you got to stay all day
to get away from everybody else, right?
That, and you got to put in the time knowing, I mean, obviously you go out into anywhere, there's deer.
Yeah.
But there's not always deer where you're at for whatever reason. Geographically,
sure.
There may not be a water source. There may just be not a lot of cover, bedding, whatever, And so public, you really got to put in the work. You got to know the good spots and you got to go in deep because the people that aren't willing to go in, deep, they're not going to see as much deer.
Well, yeah.
Typically.
That's where all the action is.
Most of the guys go 100 yards from the parking lot and they're winded, and then they got to get up a tree. So.
Well, but even knowing what you do and putting out all the cameras you do, it's still not guaranteed.
Oh God, no. Yeah. I mean, half the time, I have just at my house, right? I got 10 acres of woods that I hunt behind my house.
Yeah.
I have right now 4 cameras set up along the same line, right? So if a deer crosses somewhere on my property, right, probably going to see him.
Sure.
I had a buck pop up last night. I haven't seen him since last year. I saw him one time last year, never saw him again, never saw him this spring, never saw him this summer, never saw him this fall until literally last night, a buck.
It's fucking crazy.
I mean, on a camera that I just put out. I moved it from one property to another.
Echo, go on, man. Echo's down here, of course, trying to get on camera or on audio. So Brady and his family, so we're all down to Dersh's. Brady's like, hey, you going to go this year? And I'm like, man, I don't have anything ready. I don't have anywhere to go. So kind of long story short, first of all, Brady, huge success story to me. Brady was a teacher and, for a bunch of other reasons, fired up his own lawn care, snow removal. What do you call the brush hogging section of your ground clearing?
Yeah, sure. We call it like just brush hogging.
Brush hog, yeah. So he fired up his own company a few years ago, like with nothing. One mower, your dad's Jeep and a trailer and like a fucking weed eater and blower.
I mean, yeah, we called it, I wouldn't even call it a Jeep. We called it the Heap.
Yeah.
The damn thing could barely pull a trailer. He let me use it. I bought a brand new $3,000 Cub Cadet glorified homeowner zero turn.
I remember it.
A Home Depot trimmer, a Home Depot blower, and just said, well, we'll see what happens. And yeah,
he fired up his own company. And
my company.
and has started killing it.
Yeah.
So you are basically managing a piece of property.
Yeah,
a guy wanted other people kind of off of there, right? Weren't some people hunting there that he didn't necessarily?
Well, he had thoughts. He didn't really know because he wasn't really walking like deep in there. So the property is out in Moscow Mills where I live, and it's probably about 7-8 minutes on the side by side to drive over there.
It wasn't long.
And he has about 128 acres, and he bought it. He's probably owned it for a better part of 3 decades, give or take. Plan was to develop it and sell it all off in bigger lots.
Yeah.
And due to whatever reason, he hasn't done it yet. And so there is one lot that was sold off probably 15 years ago, about 2.5 acres. And that is who has been basically taking advantage of the situation and trespassing and putting up stands, which technically in the eyes of the MDC is considered poaching because you don't own the land and you're hunting on said land.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, it depends too. It depends on the severity, like what they're doing. So
Yeah.
And really only depends if you get caught. I mean, because they got to have that. You could have a stand up and really there's nothing MDC can do, tell you to take it down. But unless you have cold evidence of them either killing the deer on that property or whatever, that's how they get, you can get a huge fine and get your license taken away, or your ability to get tags taken away.
Right.
And so he reached out to me. I just found this out actually a couple weeks ago from another lawn care company in the area that he contacted this guy first, which that guy hunts. So it's kind of funny how it burned him in the long run.
Absolutely.
But he doesn't do that. He doesn't do brush hogging. And I mean, you can rent a tractor and trailer and mower and brush hog and stuff and do it. But at that point, you have the rental cost in there. So it's cheaper for me to do it because I own the equipment. So I don't have to charge as much.
Right.
Because you don't have those rental fees. So he referred me. So the guy calls me in like April of this year. And it's super close to my house. I'm like, yeah, I'll come out. Give me a bid on brush hogging. That's what he wanted. Gave him an hourly rate because basically he's like, also, if you're interested in hunting this, I'd let you. He's got a 15-acre lake.
He just brought this up.
Just randomly. He asked if like I hunt, and I kind of downplayed it. I was like, yeah, I go out a couple times.
dabble.
Yeah, I didn't tell him like, yeah, I spend about 400 hours a year.
Yeah.
at a tree stand.
As much time as I can.
Yeah, I didn't tell him that. So and then he was basically like, well, yeah, if you're interested, just go ahead. We'll write up a little lease agreement, no charge, just make sure he's not liable for any anything that happens to me.
Well, and to cover you too.
Yeah,
legally.
Right. Make sure that if that homeowner that says, oh, well, this is our property, then I already know it's not. So.
Right.
But anyway, so I went and kind of walked and was doing some scouting back in September because I kind of forgot that he had given me access to hunt. Because we own land up north. I hunt my house. I got
It's
huge
not
bucks.
your only option.
No, it wasn't at all. It was like my third option.
Right.
Which then became the better option because I was getting a lot of good stuff on camera.
Right.
So anyways, I was walking it and scouting it, and I knew that there were stands up there somewhere, and I kind of knew just based off of the way the land lay, like where I wanted to set up my own stuff, which of course was right where these people had their stands.
Makes sense.
They knew it was a good spot too. One was right off a creek in a cornfield. Well, you got them going to food, coming back to bedding.
Water.
I was right in between.
Yeah.
Good access coming in, good trees, and so I notified the guy that owns the property. I'm like, hey, I found 2 stands and a cell camera, and I wasn't trying to like incriminate these people, but at the same time, this guy that owns this property has taken him to court before for over things.
He wanted you to incriminate him.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words,
yeah. And I mean, I was just like, man, I don't want to get in between y'all.
Right. But here's what I see.
Here's what I see. And I sent him pictures. And then literally I put a camera out too, because he wanted me to get a picture of him.
Yeah.
For his own purposes. I'm like, fine, I can do that. So I put one out, kind of hid it facing one of their cameras. Well, that same day they came out and took everything down. Like the exact same day. I guess he went over there and was like, hey, I know you guys have stands. I saw them. I got pictures. Get off the property. Yada, yada, yada. Same day they were gone.
Wow.
So I go in there like a week later, hung 2 sets.
So do you
put a blind
contact
out.
him first and say, hey, so are we good again? Or
I never.
You already got
I
your
don't even
piece of
have to
paper.
reach out to him or nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, I come and go. He'll message me, like he'll text me if like he's gonna be going out there to do some work. Which, like I said, this guy's probably late 60s, early 70s, and he's out there with hand loppers cutting sticks and shit off the edge of the lakefront.
manual labor.
It's crazy to me, but
Yeah.
and so he'll tell me like if he's going out there, and if he is, then I won't go out there.
Sure.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to. I mean, even though I'd be 1,000 yards from him at any given time bow hunting, it's
mutual.
If I go out there and he sees me, he's gonna talk me my ear off for 2 hours, and I might as well not even
Ruin your hunt. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been a pretty cool thing. So basically, yeah. So I bid on the brush hogging. I got that. I've been doing that throughout the year. And then the funny thing is, so he has 127 acres, right? So bordering that is another 270 acres of just similar ground, bottom land, thicket
Water.
stuff. We're going to hold big deer, right? The company that owns that is a developer for homes. I won't mention them just because
I got you.
insurance purposes. But they basically, I know them. I've known them. The guy, the dad who owns it, and then the next guy is his son. I've known them since 6th grade, 7th grade. Played travel ball with his son. Dad was my coach. Now he started his own home building company. He builds neighborhoods, right? Like similar to McBride.
Sure.
And I texted him one day. I'm like, hey, I'll be hunting some ground next to you guys. Do I have permission to retrieve deer? And in like a roundabout way, like he said something about, well, yeah, our insurance doesn't allow hunting, but we're never out there. So take that as you can.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't want to hunt it. I just want to retrieve. And he goes, no, you don't understand. Like, we don't go out there.
Right.
We're not going to go out there.
I'm telling you something without saying.
So now I'm like, okay, shit. I got 300 something acres now that I have access to.
Wow.
And technically that deer from Friday was actually, if you really look at the property line, was taken. So you shot on the one property.
Oh, that fence.
But where that deer was on
Yeah.
the other side of that little woven wire fence was technically like a foot over the property line.
Wow. Tell that guy.
So you
thanks.
shot it off 2 different properties.
Yeah. Well, shot it on one, retrieved it on another.
Yeah. So that's kind of how that whole hunting property is set up. I don't know how long it'll be like that, you know, because he wants to develop it. He's got utilities done, but those utilities were done probably 20 years ago.
They're
50.
buried.
Yeah. So I have I'll take it, you know.
Well, sure.
You know, obviously we're looking to buy more land for ourselves here soon in the next year or so. So, I mean, I'll take it, but I mean, you know.
So that is the story of the property, right? So now Brady has his family farm. He's got property that he lives on that I saw, and you know, it's fucking cool too. But then he's got this other set. So we're down at the Dershes talking, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really have anywhere to go. I don't even have a fucking hunting rifle, folks. In my world, you know, as you guys know, the kids and all these sports and everything else, it's like to buy a few $100 rifle, a few $100 scope. It is an investment for me. And again, if I had some family property to go to, it would be worthwhile because I know at least every year I can go sit with this thing.
Use that investment. Yeah.
Right. So Brady's like, dude, fucking, I got the spot. And he's totally into it. Something I've learned about hunters that do it a lot is, and it seems to me across the board, most people can't, for like family reasons, invite you up to their family place, right? Because Uncle Jim's over there and then cousin Steve's over. Everybody's got their own spot. So
and if one guy invites one guy, then you got
it's a fucking
10
flood.
other guys in there. Yeah,
right.
It's a slippery slope.
So in my opinion, you don't ask. That's rude. And because nobody wants to say no, you know, but
sure.
Like across the board, hunters are so happy to at least get you out if it's a possibility and share that experience. And especially, Brady knows me enough to know I'm not out like bushwhacking anything that's moving, you know? So it's like, I take it very seriously and everything.
Absolutely.
So when he invited me, I could tell he was like, you were kind of jazzed about the whole, giving me that experience and shit. So I know Brady enough to know that it wasn't bullshit. He wasn't just saying that to say it. But he got my wheels kind of spinning, right? So then I'm back at work and all the other guys went out opening day and So I got a hold of him like, hey, what do you think? He's like, dude, I told you. Yeah, man, what day? So we figured out Friday. So we're almost, so what is last day of that, right? Would it have been Sunday, right?
We're coming up, no, so this coming Tuesday is last day of rifle.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's Saturday, what was it? The day of Veterans Day, like actually the actual Veterans Day, not the Friday.
So the 11th?
So the 11th, and then it'll run till Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, so would you say that on Friday we are, I mean, I can do the math myself, but like, does the rut change that much in a week and a day or whatever that would have been?
It's so all over the place.
Really?
Cause it's so.
I'm learning with you guys if you don't know.
So the rut, right, is when bucks are heavily searching for a breedable doe.
Yeah.
Right? And so you have the pre-rut.
I've been in the rut since I was 14.
Right. See, that's the difference between deer and humans, right?
Yeah, they get it once a year.
They get it once a year, and they're fighting and killing for it.
Yeah.
But you know, so you have the pre-rut, right, which is basically when bucks start really moving and getting up and being like, all right, you know, you'll have like some of them kind of chasing, but some of them are kind of like just not getting there yet.
Right.
And then for some reason, and now it's a big controversy in the state of Missouri having that 11-day rifle season smack dab in what we call the rut, because you have the peak time of the year where deer are moving, especially big bucks, right? And then you have what some would say the easier option.
Fuck off, man.
The easier option for harvesting deer is rifle, right?
Okay.
Because bow season starts September 15th.
Right.
Runs till January 15th. You have that break. I mean, you can still use a bow during gun, but you have to tag your gun tag. You have to use your gun tag.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can still use a bow, but you can't. Then that omits you using a rifle.
You don't get to go get a rifle and come back.
So like you can't shoot a deer with your bow during rifle and then get a muzzleloader out during alternative and shoot one. You have to use your other bow tag and use a bow only.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can't. Yeah, you can't. You can get $2, but you have you can do a bow early season, and then use your rifle tag, and then you're done.
Only one rifle or projectile from a firearm, and that's it for the season.
That's it for the season.
For the year.
So most people only shoot one buck because I would say, I don't know, I mean, I just pull this out my ass, but I would say most hunters don't bow hunt in the state of Missouri. Most people are what we call Orange Army.
Yeah.
They're throwing it on opening day. They're going out public, or
that's me.
Their grandma's uncle's property, or whatever, or a lease. A lot of people lease.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I would say, yeah, they say like, that mid-November is the rut. I think too, it's solely based too, like on the weather. Like, so this week has been seasonably warm.
Weird.
I guess unseasonably warm.
Yeah, right.
Mornings, except for Friday, it was the same temperature basically the whole day.
It was ridiculous.
Mid 50s.
Yeah.
It kind of cooled off towards the end, but like opening day when I went out, it was like 32 and then got up to like 54 and then went back down. And it was kind of like that throughout the whole week. Cold in the morning.
Which is still a 20-degree change in a day.
Yeah.
I mean,
but so that means in the morning, though, they're moving, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because when it's colder, they're moving.
Yeah.
Especially coming out of the dark, the nighttime, they're seeing more.
Yeah.
And then right around that 11 to 12, they're bedding down or chilling out, which is exactly what happened. Like when I was out opening day, I sat all day, right? Because I knew I had bucks in the area, and I knew if I didn't see them in the morning, I'm probably going to see them in the evening. Or, even a lot of big bucks are killed midday too.
Yeah.
When everybody climbs out to go get a hoagie, those deers are moving.
Right.
Or what I think too, what happens is a lot of times you see deer moving is because people are getting out and they're pushing deer, which is causing them to move.
Oh, yeah.
And
Because they're going to lunch.
Yeah. And so if you're still in the stand, you're seeing deer because somebody pushed it there, depending on where you're at.
Right.
So I did an all day sit. We got in the stand about, probably an hour before technical sunrise. So half hour before shooting. Well, actually maybe a little earlier. I think we were in the stand like 5:15.
Yeah.
I mean, we got in 5:30 the other day.
Yeah.
5:15 legal shooting light would have been 6:10
It
or
was
6:08.
6:18 for us.
6:18, yeah. 6:18. And we got in about 5:30, which I think is perfect.
Yeah.
Especially when we didn't have to walk very far from the side by side.
Great.
But so when I got in, I saw a pile of deer. I mean, I probably saw 50 deer before noon where I was at, down off the edge of this cornfield.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, I had bucks grunting 360 degrees around me, downwind, upwind, everywhere. I had bucks 30 yards in front of me, sounding like the predator, low grumbling, right at does. I mean, I had a pick of the litter, but I was kind of, I was trying to shoot a mature buck. And I had my buddy Jake, who you met.
Yep.
He was hunting in that same line that we hunted in, 600 yards away, south of us. And he shot what most likely is a relative of the deer you shot.
We're going to get into that, yeah.
And anyway,
it's funny.
a big deer, a big deer to most of us would be 145, 150, 140 inch plus.
That's when it gets to the big category. Okay.
Yeah, and this deer, I mean, what he lacked in like tine length overall, he got back in mass and width.
Yeah.
That he shot. He shot that deer at 11:25.
Wow.
Which most people are out of the stand by then.
Right.
And he had to do everything but basically throw a rock at that deer to get it to stop.
That's what he said.
In front of him. Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Why is it that it's like, to me, because I don't know, it's like their balls turn on that week, right? Like why?
So
because the doe go in heat, I understand that, but is that what charges them?
It's like a
biological
thing.
They just turn on.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts, man.
I mean, I've always heard, I remember there's a story, I can't remember who it was about. It was somebody that we knew that he got attacked by a buck because it's just going to sound like,
get fucked.
Dude, this is going to sound like I'm making this shit up. I'm dead serious. He had doe pee that he was putting out to like
attract him.
Well, attract him. Some people do it to cover their own scent.
Okay.
It got on him somehow, one way or another. And I've had this happen before, and it fucking sucks. Because if you ever walk down like Bass Pro or Cabela's, down the aisle that has like the doe pee and the buck pee and the scrape shit, whatever it is, it just smells funky.
I haven't, but I get what you're saying.
Even though it's packaged and sealed, it's still, you get like a slight. And I remember that this was this was probably 10 years ago. And we're at one of our farms up north. I'm in a blind by myself, which was most of the time I'm always by myself. And it's snowing out. It's cold as fucking shit. And I'm like, I'm not seeing a damn thing. And I wasn't really like educated on like at that point too much on like deer and stuff. And like sometimes less is more, it's not always the best option to spray doe piss because you might scare them away. Because some of those companies, that shit, it's dopey. But it's not like
it's synthetic.
It's like it doesn't work. Yeah, it's a gimmick.
Well,
there are some that I think
it's a multi-million-dollar a year industry gimmick.
Yeah, and I mean there are some things that I think may work, but not for all the deer, not for every deer.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm spraying this like Tinks bottle of shit, and the wind. I didn't even pay attention to where the fucking wind
I'm
was
with
going.
you. I wouldn't.
I spray it right in the wind, and it comes right back in my face. And I mean, I had a headache from hell because just the odor, and it was bad. So anyway, this guy, I don't know who it was. I cannot remember who it was. He got some on his pants, right? And so he's walking through the woods, doing something, going to a stand or going to do something, and a buck charged him, antlers and all,
which is unheard of, right?
It doesn't happen a lot. It happens a lot more, I would say, with like moose and elk.
Yeah, right. You see
for
that
sure.
Yellowstone and shit.
But with whitetail, I don't. Yeah, and he ended up, I kid you not, killed it with his knife. Pulled out his knife and just started stabbing it.
That's ridiculous.
I cannot remember for the life of me who it was. I think it was like a family friend or somebody close.
Yeah.
You know, a second or step away.
Right.
But yeah, and so yeah,
he was trying to get
they
fucked.
they just get nuts. They go nuts. They call it a rut. These deer will lose anywhere from 20 to 30, 40 pounds. And from early November to late November, just because they're not eating.
Oh,
they have one thing on their mind.
Really?
And I was telling you when we were in the blind that I had read a thing last year that a mature deer, you know, which could be 3.5, 2.5 years old or older, because not all of those are wanting every buck to breed them. They want the big bucks. They want, you know, that's why they fight. That's why they do that whole territorial thing.
Yeah.
They'll breed anywhere from like 10 to 12 times a day for like 3 weeks straight.
So they're getting a year's worth of work done in no time.
I'd say, and so they're rutted out is the term, because like they'll lose a bunch of mass, they'll lose a lot of their body weight. That's why they beef up so much. Going into that, and they have to feed. So like if you're hunting October, which I typically don't start bow hunting until like it gets a little bit cooler, because I mean, you can hunt when it's hot. Deer are still gonna be somewhat moving, but to me, it's just awful. I associate deer season with cool weather and cool temps. So I usually don't really go out full swing until like mid-October or like that second week of October. And so you're hunting over food because they're eating. And I have like a half acre of clover between my house and my woods. Yeah. So deer come out of my woods a lot to go to that food plot. So I have my stand strategically set up back there to catch them, go and eat. So that's what you're going to switch from food and water sources to basically anywhere you have a corridor of where deer are traveling regularly. Right. So scrapes, you hunt rubs, you hunt, you know, just any massive worn down trails. Putting cameras out helps because you can pattern deer and know which way they're moving. But even just the lay of the land, you know, they're going to run, you know, ridge lines. They're going to run, you know, certain ways because that's where they're going to have the most cover. You hunt those, you switch your tactic, right?
Of course.
You know, you can't hunt
year to year.
I have multiple stands, even on just a 10-acre piece. I have multiple stands set up.
I saw them.
To hunt winds, to hunt whatever it is. Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, you kind of switch your tactic up because they're just, and at that point too, like we talked about, scent really doesn't matter. Deer, the does will wind you, but bucks, they won't even pay attention to it. Yeah. Because they're just going. Yeah. I mean, that one buck that we saw, I mean, he was downwind of us. Yeah. I mean, we had a weird south wind, which is not really common to come in from the south. Normally it's west, northwest, you know.
Which one was that? That first one in the morning that popped out like twice that we saw?
Those first two bucks. Yeah. They were straight downwind of us. Yeah. Which would have been, that was like a southeast, southwest wind, which is kind of weird. I mean, you get them, but yeah. Southeast wind's really rare. Just coming from the south, you'd have to be a storm or something. Right. Because, you know, just the way we're laid out. But yeah, they just didn't give a shit.
No. So we came up with Friday. Brady put his whole day aside, which I have told him over and over. I appreciate, and I'm going to continue to probably for the rest of my life. And I had told Brady, like, you know, I don't have a rifle. I have clothes. I can get out there and dress the part. But that's the extent of what I have going on. He's like, dude, come out. I've got a rifle zeroed. Blah, 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 blah. It was like an outfitter. And that was the same thing with my first hunt. My buddy had everything. It was just, it was awesome. So our plan was, I'm just telling you guys the story of Elmo. So I'm going to break down. I fucking named my first buck Elmo. And I don't know where that came from. But as I was walking up, I think is when I named him Elmo. Yeah. Our plan was to meet at your house at 4:30. Yeah. I was up at 2 because I am a child at heart, and there was no way. I got up. It was just like, all right, what's this weather doing? I go outside on the deck, and I high 50s,
Dude, it was bad.
at least. And I'm like, fuck, I
bad.
know enough from talking to you guys
Yeah.
that like it's supposed to be really fucking. I mean, I had all my shit set out, all my cold weather stuff, because I'm like, I'm gonna go regardless. And it ended up being, it was weird.
52, 53 with a like a 2 to 3 mile an hour wind.
Right, there wasn't much at the
No.
beginning at all.
It was super quiet, which is nice because
Yeah.
you can hear.
Yeah.
You can hear all the fucking squirrels.
Yeah. So I meet Brady at his house, 420. I pulled up in the driveway, and he had told me his buddy Jake was coming out. Jake's gonna come into the story again. Brady and Jake grew up together, so they've been hunting forever. As a matter of fact, Jake is who Brady was just talking about. I think it's probably pretty hard to say for sure, but you guys have an eye enough, and again, Jake's gonna come into this. Just a week before on opening day, he was sitting where I was sitting,
Same exact spot,
and shot a buck even closer than mine.
Yeah,
right.
Probably within 30 yards.
So and they just looking at Elmo's rack,
The genetics,
yeah, like there were a lot of similarities.
It's almost like they either had a similar like patriarchal relative or same dad or grand.
Would that make sense though that they're still in the same area?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So a buck will range anywhere. Now during the rut, a buck can. I was just reading an article the other day. A guy up north in Missouri hunted 2 different farms and saw the same buck 4 miles apart.
Just searching for pussy.
Just searching, dude. Just going hard.
I mean, it's
licking the ground, licking the air,
Yeah.
just nuts to the wall.
It's
balls to
much
the
like
wall.
humans, except we go like bar to bar when we're young,
or app to app nowadays.
Yeah, right,
You know
right,
what I mean?
right, exactly, exactly.
But no, he but like outside of the rut, like in a normal, just from like January to
the whole rest of the year,
August, September, October time, they're going to stay relatively in probably like if you have 100 acres of solid ground and a big circle, just a big circle of 100 acres, they probably will stay in that area. They may venture off a little bit, but like look at my house, for example.
Yeah.
So I live in a neighborhood, but we're all kind of on acreage. Most lots are 3 to 5. I'm lucky enough, I got in early and we got just under 9.5 acres. My neighbor next to me has 7.5, and then there's like a 14, a 16, and like an 11.
Yeah.
So we all have pretty sizable lots. Well, I'm lucky enough my neighbor doesn't care what I do. So I have my 6.5 acres of woods and his 4.5.
Yeah.
I've had 1 buck that I've been trying to kill.
Yeah.
Since I moved in.
You're Elmo.
Yeah, we call him Big Boy. And he's regressed quite a bit because this is the 3rd year I've been hunting him, and he was probably 3.5, 4.5 when I first saw him.
He's old.
So that was in 21.
For a deer.
Yeah, he's for a deer this close to a highway.
Yeah.
It's amazing he's still alive. And it's not for a lack of trying. I've never had an opportunity to release an arrow or shoot him.
Right.
I've seen him twice. One time I was hanging a stand on a rub that he made in like December 3rd.
Okay.
He was he was locked down on a doe on December 3rd of 21. That's when I first saw him with my own eyes. I'm hanging, I'm in a saddle, climbing, I'm up 25 feet up on a tree, hanging a set to hunt that area. And he comes out on a doe 25 yards from me. Not even downwind, he was upwind of me, so he didn't smell me. And I'm in a white t-shirt and gym shorts on December 3rd. It was like unseasonably warm.
Yeah.
And I'm like hanging on a rope behind the trees so he doesn't see me, because I didn't want him to see me there, and they ended up just moving along. And then I saw him last year. When did I see him? It was like 2 days before gun season. So I had my bow. 62 yards, I ranged him in some brush.
Yeah.
Not a snowball's chance in hell of you making that shot.
I wouldn't.
Even if it was open ground in a field, I probably still wouldn't have taken it.
Right.
I grunted him. I snort wheezed him. I doe called him. I did whatever I could to just get his attention to maybe come towards me just 15, 20 yards.
Man.
Didn't give a shit. He was on a doe. And I heard him probably 80 yards away. It sounded like you were driving something through the woods and you had like stakes coming off the tires.
Yeah.
He was hitting every branch. He was just crashing, chasing this doe. And he was huge. I mean, so at last year was his biggest year, I think, antler wise. He's super tall, super narrow. His brow tines are huge. I mean, his brow tines are probably 8 to 10 inches long.
Wow.
And so I have his matching set of his sheds from 21. He dropped them at my feeder. My neighbor has one half of the sheds from last year with the kicker on it. Squirrels got to it a little bit, but and then this year he's probably 155, 160, somewhere in there. He's regressed.
Yeah. Well, the reason I asked about the male, like I just because I don't know, I would think that like this male, regardless if we're related or not, this is my area right here.
Yeah.
You fucking go over there. But
yeah,
apparently there's enough to go around.
There's been a couple deer that have been killed around our neighborhood from people that live there, of deer that look similar antler wise to him.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't doubt it.
Tall brow tines, tall tines, narrow, like just not as big. And so it makes you, I'm sure, indicator. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, if you took him on Maury and did a DNA test, he may have been the father, he may not, It'd
be interesting to find out, though.
It's crazy. Yeah. But that deer, we're talking about area, and where they go, he's been in the same area now for at least 3 years.
I made up a term the other day when I was talking to Jake about that, when he said, you guys were pretty, not convinced, but you were pretty like,
yeah,
it would make sense if they were brothers. I think I said we're Idaho brothers.
Yeah, Eskimo brothers.
Yeah, Eskimo brothers is with a chick, but Idaho brothers is, so from now on, hashtag Idaho brothers. If you kill a deer and your buddy kills his brother, you're now Idaho brothers.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know for sure genetically.
That's okay.
It works.
Well, the thing is, too, so he's getting his mounted, and you reluctantly listened to me, and I talked you into getting it mounted. I assume we're still going to go that route.
I just dropped him off yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So when they get them back, we'll have to get them together and really look at them.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the only way.
I'm super interested.
Yeah.
Well, and so we'll go with that. All right. So I'm sorry. We met up. Everybody got ready to go.
Yeah.
We took off to the property in the side by side. Jake was, how far away was that stand? I think you said 400 or something, a couple hundred yards.
I mean, it's 500, give or take, 20, 30 yards.
So he was significantly further away. Now, as we just said, Jake had already gotten his buck. So if you don't know, once you get one, like Brady was saying earlier, that's it for the season.
He was doe hunting.
Yeah, right. He was specifically doe hunting.
And the weather, I think, took a huge toll on Friday, because Saturday morning when we were both out, him and I saw at leat 80 deer.
Right.
On
and
the
he
day.
saw
65, 70.
Right. I mean,
and it could have been the same deer 15 times. But
I hear you. But at the point that they're coming back and forth is still pretty cool.
And I mean, I could have killed 20 does and multiple bucks.
Yeah.
And I ended up shooting an 8-pointer.
Yeah.
That had bedded down at noon behind me and had danced around in a thick area for probably 4 hours before he finally came out at about 70 yards. I had about a 6-inch window.
It was small. Yeah, I saw the
very
photo,
small.
Yeah.
And made a good shot on him. Hit the bottom of his heart. Dropped him, and it was great.
So when we were in the stand, and I had told Brady, I don't need to mount a buck. It is a financial thing.
Oh, it's expensive as hell.
But when we were in the stand, we were talking, and you said, look, dude, if it's one of these ones that like we think it is, you didn't talk me into it. You made it make sense to me.
Yeah. I was like the, not devil on your shoulder, but just like a small little voice in your ear. And I'm like,
well,
hey.
Come to find out, that was the best decision, because from all the guys at work and everything, I think once in a lifetime is probably a stretch, but it's like maybe not, Yeah. So
once in a lifetime is a stretch if you don't own land.
There you go. That's a better way to say it. It's once in a lifetime, maybe for me.
If you have a piece of property that year in and year out, without a doubt, you're going to get on, you got big deer, and you're going to get at least one a year, that's understandable. But
I don't have that. Have that. I can't say that.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, that doesn't mean I'm not going to invite you back out next year.
I'm saying, but
even then,
life in general, man, sometimes shit just happens.
I've hunted how many years now? I don't know, half my life. And I've shot 2, maybe 3 bucks that I think are good enough to where I can talk about them.
Yeah.
Because I have one of them mounted Everything else was just Euro mounts.
Yeah.
Right. Because I didn't really care back then. Now I have a little bit more patience. I have the ability to hunt certain deer,
Of course,
in certain areas.
Yeah.
So I won't shoot a deer, even if it's legal. I won't shoot it unless it's
right.
relatively good size or mature.
Yeah.
Antlers, yeah, you want them, but if it's a big bodied deer, it's mature. Antlers may not always. The genetics may not.
They
be
don't
there.
match.
Yeah.
Well, so
there's that too.
Right. We had that conversation, and what did you just say? You were just saying, from it's got a lot to do with the guys at work, just because I'm around them constantly. But then talking to Brady and knowing him for all these years, like I'm 40, I'll be 41. I'm definitely at a place in life, and Brady definitely agreed. And look, but you actually said, if you see a good buck that's legal, man, it's your first buck. Take it.
Oh God, yeah.
But I know that because I've been around people like you guys so much, I have somehow acquired the you don't want
to settle for
a 6 would be great, man. It's something cool, and don't get me wrong, it'd still be just as cool of a well.
Because I mean, you could shoot a 2.5-year-old buck that's got a full 8 rack, sometimes even 9, 10, just good genetics.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm happy with myself. I think, knowing that I'm all right with letting a small, I'm not. I just don't want to fucking just go sap.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I think too, if we didn't see anything, which I knew we were going to see deer.
Oh yeah.
But if we didn't shoot something Friday, we had the opportunity Saturday.
Yeah. But you didn't start saying that until a little bit later, because it was quiet. So it was somewhat quiet. I was
kind of getting nervous.
So you started inviting, like, hey, dude, you're coming back until you get a fucking deer.
I'm like, we'll get you. I go, worst case scenario, I'm gonna put you behind my house.
Yeah.
And you'll shoot a doe.
Yeah. I don't have to sit out here with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put your ass up 20 feet in the tree, and you'll shoot something. But I mean, we had deer though at
early
6 a.m.
I couldn't even barely see them.
I could see them, but it wasn't going to be. Because we had that one buck come through.
Yeah.
Which I actually have him on camera, and I can show you him too. And he's a legal buck. He's probably 120-inch, 8-point, 9-point maybe. But the body's not nearly the size.
Really.
And so it's good that we didn't, because I mean, we haven't talked about it, but there was that second buck that came through, or that was the first buck that came through. I can't remember which one it was, but you would have had a shot had he stopped.
Yeah.
Or even maybe not even if he stopped. He was moving slow enough where you probably could have shot him on the run, on the move. But we didn't know for sure if it was legal.
Right.
This was probably right at legal light, and I'm glassing him behind you, standing up behind you, and you're sitting down in front of me. It's a big blind. It's tall enough where I got a foot of clearance above my short ass.
We're not tall guys, but we were both standing.
I'm not a legal midget, but I'm not 6 foot.
Yeah, right.
And so we still, it's 84-inch tall blind. It's a 4-person blind. You got plenty of visibility.
Oh, it's fucking
I'm
great.
glassing this deer, and I'm like, man, I just don't know. I can't tell.
Yeah.
It's too dark still. I can't tell, but I don't want you to shoot it. And for some reason, him only have 3 on each side, or whatever it is. I knew it was a legal buck, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Well, that wasn't good enough for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. You don't want to go on a hope and pray that it's,
fuck no.
At that point, you want 100% doubt.
Right. If anything, I want to do it legal, and I want to do the right 100%. Thing. And if he is young, I'd rather him grow up and you get him some other year,
Exactly.
And so we had that conversation. So I know that Brady knew
the expectation.
You were right. My level, so I know we had that in common, which I think you appreciate more than just like, I'm fucking killing everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But at the same
that's
time,
not what it is.
Like I told you, it's not my property. I don't own the deer. I don't own the
I know
land.
what you're saying.
So it's like,
but there's a way to do things.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And like I said, this could be the only year that I hunt it.
Right.
So, if I shoot a smaller buck than what I really want, it is what it is.
It's still a win.
I still got a bow tag.
Yeah.
Whatever. But at the same time, you want to shoot, obviously, something that's, that you can brag about.
I would like to, yeah.
That's always
But my original, like I told you when we were on the phone, at first
those eat good.
Yeah, at first when we were talking, it was about getting some meat.
Yeah.
I feel like I can save money on that one. I can still feed my kids with it. If we're one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is it was the coolest experience.
Yeah.
So that was the original kind of plan. And then, you know, at work, the guys were like, dude, if you see a big one, you know, you have to take it. He's going to make you fucking take it. I'm like, all right. So I text you like, all right, man, I kind of changed my mind a little bit.
You know, it's funny when you said to me that I saw that and I was like, yeah, I would have said the same shit.
Yeah. I mean, because, you know, but again, I know that Brady had a number one, whether it's at his house or this property. I don't give a fuck. Brady had a number one, and I needed to know that that wasn't the one.
He was, that one was like number 2, $3 on that property.
Right.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
your number one is on that property or your house?
My house.
Okay, that's what I thought. So
I had a number one over there, but I have not seen him since October 26th.
Well, and
so chances are he would probably already been harvested from somebody else on another property.
Well, but like we just said, it's not against the realm of possibilities that he'd have made his way over there.
Yeah, I mean, they move so much.
Yeah,
and cameras are in certain spots. You could have that deer around all day long, and he just doesn't cross that camera.
Right.
You know, it's just so that's the thing too. Is like unless you're really putting out cameras, like I know if a skunk, rabbit, squirrel, fox, coyote, deer goes to my own personal property because I got it heavily. Surveillance.
You're like Area 51 out there.
There's cell cameras everywhere back there. And it's not just for deer. I literally had people trespassing yesterday afternoon.
I'm sure.
Yesterday afternoon. We're in the middle of gun season. Now, granted, I'm sure these people have zero idea that it's even deer season.
Probably not.
It's this lady and her kid. And I'm thinking...
Yeah, they're nature walking.
Dude, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't home, so I called one of my neighbors. I'm like, hey, can you run back there on your four-wheeler and just scare them off? Tell them you live there. Tell them whatever you have to do to get them out.
It's dangerous to be here.
It is. Because not only do we hunt back there, but, dude, I shoot off my back porch to target practice.
Right.
I got a 120-yard range before you even hit my woods.
Yeah.
And then it's another 600-700 yards before the edge of my property line. But, like, I shoot downhill, and my property at the very back is probably 100 foot taller than where I shoot. Yeah. So it's perfectly safe. And
unless somebody
dumbass is back there. They shouldn't be.
Right.
But, I mean, you know, it's just one of those things like, God damn it. But anyway, yeah. So, I don't even know where we're at.
I knew that you had a number one, and I was glad. Sure. So you had said, I didn't expect you to go out there with me, but as novice as I am, it does make me feel more comfortable because where the house, you know, as you guys, whether you know or don't know, when you go out there in the, like first thing in the morning, it's still dark.
You don't know where you're at.
And to not have any...
And had never been to the property, too.
We had never been there through the day, which, again, is planning, but...
Yeah. Like, I could have walked that whole property without a headlamp because I knew where I was at.
But we didn't have this planned months ago to where you were like, hey, why don't you come out and look around, take a shit,
this
blah, blah, blah.
Literally a week.
Yeah. So we get out there, pitch black still.
Oh, yeah.
Send Jake on his way. He has a rough idea where he's going out because he was just out there the weekend before.
He hadn't been to that stand at
right.
all.
So Brady and I just kind of post up in the ground blind, and we're just kind of hanging.
First deer came through at 6:14.
Yeah,
it was that bigger, the bigger of the two first bucks that came through. That one buck that came through a little bit later was like a fork, a little something, you know, scrub buck.
Well, I was gonna go into like kind of the emotional side of it for me.
Sure.
So as excited as I was and everything, and we had this whole conversation, but as excited as I was when I got there, this realization comes over me, and I think I like applaud myself for it, and I think I am pretty sure all the hunters I know still have this in them at one point or another, right? There's a lot of excitement and a lot of like intensity, anxiety about what you know, where are they?
I don't think you ever lose that.
I hope not, because I think that's a huge, to me, it's a huge part of it.
I told Ashley, my wife, I said, I think this was the most fun I've ever had hunting.
Really?
And I didn't even have a gun in my
hands. That's awesome. Yeah.
Swear to God. I told her, and I was texting her, and even when I got home and I kept talking about it, I'm like, I literally had more fun in that. I mean, we weren't out there long.
No.
I had more fun out there with you doing that. And I think a lot of it, too, is a testament not just to just being around you and having a good time.
Right.
I never hunt with anybody. I'm always by myself.
Yeah, I think that's normal.
And it's not because I choose that. It's just because I have so much more free time doing what I do this time of year that I have the ability to get out so much. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating, over 400 hours last year deer hunting, and I didn't kill a single deer.
Well, and your son is into a place where you can take him out of school, which I know you'll be doing, and going and sitting out there.
If he wants to, I will never force the kids to do that.
No, I hear you.
But if they decide they want to go out, if they can be quiet,
yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. The first time I take him out is going to be a joke.
Plan on walking. Yeah.
If I don't bring his tablet or do something, it's not going to be a hunt. Right. It's going to be watching. But I know I told Ashley, I was like, that was the most fun I've had.
It was a fucking blast.
Deer hunting.
Well, and so
in a long time,
like sitting in there, and I know that there was this, I could feel this thing about you where sharing that knowledge and experience with someone else, a buddy that and like trust and all that stuff. Like I could tell you liked that part of it too. So you were like looking out one way. I'm kind of focused on out here and getting my bearings really was the biggest thing. But
when that sun came up, figuring out
where lanes and shit. But like emotionally, so again, I was really excited and I knew what I was going to do. But there was that part of me that's like, maybe probably in a little while
might make something happen.
You're gonna kill a fucking animal, and so like I don't think I showed it, but it gets heavy for me.
I didn't see a whole lot of emotion pre-shot. I think it was more or less just like, for lack of a better term, like deer in the headlights type of thing.
Oh yeah.
Like we're just like, all right, where the fuck are we at? Where the deer coming from? And I was kind of explaining to you like, all right, so the deer are going to come from this direction or this direction, and they're going to go this way. And that's exactly what they did.
You called it perfect.
It's exactly how I anticipated it to happen, which is why I had that blind in that position to begin with.
Yeah.
For me, it started off really shitty because I forgot my chair.
I know.
We have that chair for you to sit on, the shooting chair, in there already. When I put the blind up, I put a little propane heater in there weeks prior in the little shooting chair, just so it's already in there. So when I go hunt, I just take my rack, my pack, and that's it. Oh, I was just gonna bring like a camping, like a Coleman lawn chair with me to sit on behind you and be there. Completely forgot it because I'm a dumbass.
I know.
And I ended up sitting on my knees, sitting on my ass. Well, when I sit on my ass, I can't even see out the windows.
Right.
So I'm basically wasted space. So I'm like, I got on my knees. Well, then I'm like, fuck, I can't do this anymore.
Like, dude, you come sit down. So I'll stand up.
I was comfortable standing up though. It was cool. And that way I had more visibility. Yeah. So that kind of sucked, but it was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't see. It was a lot of just more of like, all right, figuring out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
As the sun was kind of coming up, and we're in some thick ass woods. I mean, we're talking trees that are average size of like, God, I don't know, like a foot in diameter, a foot across, even smaller, every like 3 feet. So we're shooting into a thicket, and we're in a thicket. But there's so many deer lanes and deer traffic that I knew this was going to be a good spot for a rifle. And I told you going into that blind, I'm like, dude, this is going to be run and gun.
Yeah.
You're going to have like 5 seconds to 10 seconds max to make a decision on what you're doing.
The fucked up part is that everything you said, it happened exactly.
It happened exactly like I said it was going to happen.
I was like, how the fuck do you know all this? Yeah. Well, it's obvious,
Yeah. Well, you do it a little bit, you get used to it. Like if you were to tell me something about what you do for on a daily day job.
Right.
I wouldn't know what the fuck you're talking about, but it would probably all come to fruition. Exactly.
Sure, right. Yeah. So when I started getting a little bit of visibility, I just got up on the scope and was kind of thinking to myself, okay, because again, when we saw that one that it was still a little too dark and I couldn't positively identify anything, so I wasn't going to take a shot like that.
Up here so you can see him.
So I was doing kind of a left to right, just scan. All right, so that would be a good lane. That would be a good lane, and I'm just kind of like getting my bearings about the whole thing. And
right.
Like you said, in that thicket, there was almost this thing like the woods. It wasn't just an open. Who's this?
That's that deer that came by at 6:14.
Oh, okay.
That came behind us.
And
then came back around in front of us, but we just didn't have a good view on him.
I think he's a beaut too.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you saw him and had a good shot, and we identified that deer, you probably would have shot him.
I would think so.
Which I think not as big,
right?
By a lot.
To me, again, it's a fucking monster.
Oh, to me, I mean, and especially from back behind. I mean, he's tall, but he's not wide. He doesn't have the mass.
Well, but that was again why I thought it was good to have you there, because
Sure.
I don't have the eye. I don't know that hump
Yeah.
in their back, that saddle when they're getting bigger in their
Sagging their
belly
gut,
doing that
yeah,
thing. Yeah, I don't
yeah.
I don't have that.
There's a few
you know?
things you can really key in on before you even look at the antlers. Just
Yeah.
like, okay, that's a mature buck. He's 3.5, 4.5,
Yeah.
sometimes 5.5. I don't know if I've ever seen a 5.5-year-old deer. Maybe. I wouldn't. I don't know.
I hear you. They're
3.5 to 4.5 is probably what you're normally going to see.
They don't have an ID on them.
Right.
But so as the sun comes up, I kind of like went through that little phase of like, I don't know, man. It's just, and I guess maybe it from overseas or something. It's just kind of it's a ride that I went through the first time. The second time I was hunting, I didn't see anything, so I was familiar with it, but I just had to keep telling myself like, again, as much as I am pro conservation and pro hunting and all that
Yeah.
stuff, like, you're being a part of something you believe in.
Sure.
So like,
It's a cool feeling.
yeah. So like so it never went negative. It was
Yeah.
always just conscience, like,
Right.
do I believe that I'm doing the right thing here?
Yeah.
And the answer was yes. Like it never went to no.
Yeah.
It was just, I wanted to be as mature and responsible
Sure.
and all those other things that I could be about what was going to happen, because I don't think it
Yeah.
should be taken lightly.
I think at the same time too, so you have that, right? Being a part of conservation, having the freedom to just go out with a firearm and, just, kill something.
You're taking a life.
Yeah.
Whatever
having the
kind of life.
freedom to go out there and shoot an animal that you're going to be able to eat for months
Yeah.
is a cool feeling.
Yeah.
You're basically embracing heritage.
Absolutely.
Because humans for the beginning of time have harvested other animals for consumption, for sustenance, whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen to
Survival.
Stephen Ranella can articulate that a
Oh,
hell of a lot
fuck,
better than I
dude.
can. But you know what I mean? Like it's you're basically embracing lineage of your ancestors. Maybe not your personal ancestors, but some down the line, somebody in your family had to.
At some
Otherwise,
point.
you wouldn't have been here.
Right. Of course.
They weren't vegans
Yeah.
200 years ago.
No. Those
No.
fucking weirdos.
God knows.
So that all that I was kind of thinking about that, and then when I talked myself through that thing, not through it, but just like came to terms with what was going on, I was just set up. So it was just that level of alertness. I love that thing,
Yeah.
but it's like I haven't felt it in a long time.
yeah.
It's kind of exhausting, just like
Yeah.
because again, those fucking squirrels we saw out there were as big as Echo.
There was a squirrel. Yeah, there was a squirrel that looked like a damn groundhog.
He was
and
heavy.
he was staring right at us.
Yeah,
10
yeah,
yards
just
away.
fucking around.
You could have hit him with a rock.
And again, in my neighborhood, your old neighborhood,
Yeah.
we don't have squirrels over here. These
Oh,
trees
man.
are maxed out at
Yeah.
20 feet tall.
You
So,
come over to my house, you could hit a squirrel limit 16 times a day.
yeah,
It's bad.
we're not doing that over here.
They're
at
not
all.
in my house because my tree line's 100 plus yards from the back of my house.
Right.
But once you get in there and you sit in a tree and the sun hits, it sounds like you have just feet running around you, just doing a Russian
Yeah, they're loud.
dance, dude. It's terrible.
And so we're kind of hanging out. What are we doing now? Oh,
We're just talking, man.
Yeah, so we saw those few, and then again we had the weather going on, and things kind of slowed down.
I would say we probably did not see a deer after that second little buck came through. That he probably came in at it was after sunrise, so it was probably
in the 6,
closer to 7,
right?
7 o'clock. And then we did not see a deer for at least an hour.
And this isn't complaining because I know hunters sit out all day long. This is just
Right.
painting the picture.
Well, I wouldn't say I was getting nervous, but I would say I was like, man, I was fully
There's
expecting
doubt.
to see a lot more deer than
Yeah.
this. Knowing how it went the weekend before. Granted, the weather was completely different.
Right.
The time was completely different. Now, also at this point, deer are on high alert because of all the gunshots. We're in gun season. The influx of hunters increases tenfold. Missouri Department of Conservation said something about there was going to be over 400,000 hunters in the woods opening weekend. I don't know if that's accurate because I think yearly there's only 300-something thousand deer taken total. Now, granted, not everybody shoots a deer.
Well,
but
and then they might be counting in kids that who knows
Sure.
where they get
I
that
think
data
they took
from,
that
but-
number off of registered hunters in the state. I think that's where they get that number,
which doesn't mean
seems low because we have 12 million people, I think, in Missouri or something like that.
yeah,
I feel 400-something thousand registered
Yeah.
hunters seems low.
yeah, that's true.
But then again,
a lot of people are not.
well, you spend any time in prison, you can't hunt.
Or think
So
of people
there's
like
that.
me that didn't grow up with any of this shit and you don't have the
City-
opportunity.
yeah, and I think too, a lot of the hunters that like up at our farm, there's an outfitter down the road from our farm, from one of our properties, and every vehicle in that little gravel lot of theirs has like a New York tag on it, a New Jersey, Pennsylvania,
Oh,
Florida,
out-of-towners.
out of towners, because Missouri is one of the cheapest states to hunt if you're an out of towner.
What do you mean? So, like, are you talking about the $17 any
Tags.
deer tag?
If you want to buy a tag in Illinois right now as a Missouri resident, my neighbor does this. It's like $700, and you get a buck and a doe tag.
And you can only shoot with a
$700.
shotgun or a bow, right?
Shotgun or bow. Yeah.
$700.
$700 freaking dollars.
How do they justify that? Because
No idea. Big deer.
oh, are they?
Well,
Well, I guess if
don't
it costs $700 to kill them, ain't not many people
I mean,
going.
honest to God, I don't think. I mean, Pike County, Illinois is a big. They all
Yeah,
Pike
sure.
County, Illinois. I think Missouri, pound for pound, is just bigger deer than Illinois. It's
Wait a
all
minute,
the same.
but we have a Pike County, Missouri, too, right?
Yeah, they're about damn near across the river from each other.
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
some world class deer have been taken from Pike County, Missouri,
Pike
right?
County. Yeah, I think there was a deer taken this year. I don't know if it was Rawls County, which is just north of us, or
Right.
Shannon County, or something north central Missouri. It was like a 238-inch deer, or was that Ohio? I can't remember.
I hear you.
Ohio's got some big ass deer. There was a picture. That picture that I showed you.
Yeah.
That deer was gross score was like 240 inches, typical, or non-typical, or something. I can't remember what
Wow.
it was. It's huge.
Yeah.
It almost looks fake. You
Really?
take a deer and then you just put these antlers that stick out 4 feet. It just looks fake.
Yeah, who built that?
Yeah.
Did you happen to hear? I'm getting off track, but I don't care. Did you? The last time Ranella was on Rogan, there's this. I guess it's considered a conspiracy. This guy has these world record, da 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 da, but he won't let anyone score it. And then there's
Yeah.
a lot of weird similarities, and it doesn't look. It was just it was kind of interesting to me to
Yeah.
listen to, because it's like,
Well,
would someone go to that extent to get a record
I just don't know why you would. Well, they don't count it. If it's
if you
not
can't score it?
if it's not like Pope and Young or Boone and Crockett scored deer, they don't count it as an actual like record. I think it has to be like officially counted or officially measured or
Right.
whatever by somebody, somebody.
Yeah,
I don't know who.
Go to that episode and
Yeah, I'll have to
listen to
look
it,
back at it.
because it's
But
really
I
interesting.
know there's a deer. I can't remember the state, but it's this deer that is just super wide. This like national
freak.
record. It's a freak deer. There's like a name for the deer, and the guy's like a picture of the guy is holding it from behind, but it almost looks like he made these antlers out of something and screwed
Right.
them on the head.
Right.
They're so big, but I think this is a guy that he wouldn't let anybody score it. I think it might be the same guy.
This
I'm
sounds
not
familiar
sure.
because this dude,
Yeah.
it's like the second time it's happened. Or
Yeah.
there's this story is like,
I mean, it's like a 300-inch whitetail.
yeah, and
is
Ranella isn't. He's not putting blame or saying anyone's doing anything. He's just taking the data and going, it's just a little strange.
Yeah.
Like how you can be a part of something like that twice
On a free range deer. Yeah.
and
Because
not.
sure, you can get 300-inch deer on fence farms. Oh God, yeah.
That's where they
But
raise
they're
them, and like,
non-typical, and you're paying like $5,000 to go shoot one of these deer that I call them fake deer. I mean, they're real deer,
of course.
but it's like it'd be like you kill
Letting my dog out in the backyard and going and shooting him. Like
you're raising him to shoot.
right, fenced in.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
these deer are pumped with protein. They're pumped with like just all kinds of food, nutrition, and stuff. It's like taking a person, right, getting them on first form, getting them all pumped up, sticking a little Deanna ball in them,
Yeah.
maybe a little tren,
Yeah.
just a little bit,
Yeah.
not a lot. Get them on some creatine, and then putting them in a show and being like, oh yeah, he's the biggest one.
So
It's like they do essentially the same thing.
so I was watching some videos. Again, a little bit of the research I was doing. I have a good idea over the years of the kill shot, the heart lung, right?
Yeah.
But so anyway, just brushing up on everything. I was watching videos on YouTube. These guys are all. It seems like they're in the same stand, and I mean these fucking deer that are coming through. It's that wild, non-typical,
Yeah.
really cool looking shit.
Yeah. Oh, it's
but
all
they all have tags on them.
Yeah.
So is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
It's-
like the road is without being paved with
Yeah.
with
that was probably in Texas.
I don't know where
There's
they are.
like, it looks like scrub brush all around, and there's like dirt roads that are like as far as you can see, and then there's deer crossing.
It's like
And they're in like a redneck blind, like a big raised shooting block, shooting house.
You know exactly where they're coming. They all got a fucking tag on their
They're
ear.
on ranches that you pay. So you'll pay like, it depends on where you're at, but thousands and thousands of dollars. Your lodging's included, your meals are included. They'll drive you to the freaking blind. You don't even walk.
They just hand you a rifle.
Yeah, and you look at the dudes, and I mean, I'm not dogging on anybody. Everybody comes from different walks of life, but it's always these dudes, these like old white dudes that are like overweight.
Yeah.
They're driving them out on a freaking side by side.
Fuck all that work.
They got propane heaters in there, and I get it. At one point, I will probably be there.
Comfort is
God
great.
willing, I'm not extremely obese or overweight
right.
and having to drive in. I can
you.
walk still. But I'm sure I would love to have a shooting house that is, honestly, my goal would be to have a big ag field of my own that I live on, that I own, that I can put one of those in with a couch and a heater, and I can sleep in there instead of having to walk to the stand and bump deer. That would be awesome.
Just cook breakfast right there.
Yeah. Like, but
It
have a
sounds
little
great.
solar panel. It sounds great, but it's not really
I'm with you
attainable.
though. I
But
kind of
it'd be kind of cool to do that for rifle.
yeah.
But I do also love the fact of walking in, coming in under darkness and being quiet and trying not to make a lot of noise. Don't get me wrong, you're still gonna bump deer if they're thick in there.
Right.
I bumped like 3 deer walking in opening morning.
Yeah.
But it doesn't discourage me because I know deer will always come back to the same. I saw a ton of deer.
There's something
But
exciting about it.
It's just it's
Now,
cool.
it was crazy because when the sun did come up, we could see the reflector on the back of your side by
Yeah.
side. So we
yeah.
didn't have, well, the work started for me a little while later. But
Yeah, I had a panic moment though, if you remember, because I was like, oh, I thought I saw somebody's like Hunter Orange.
Yeah, no, I
it was
remember.
a fucking triangle.
Yeah, it was a
a
triangle
Ranger
on the fucking heated and air conditioned dope
yeah.
ass Ranger. That thing is fucking
yeah,
cool.
it's a little much, but having the little kids, like having the heat and the air conditioning
Dude,
on that, it's worth it.
Get
it's
your
worth
kids
it.
experience that.
Yeah,
So we're hanging. Jake is a few hundred yards from us
Yeah.
in a tree stand. He's already got his buck, so he's out on bucks.
he's mama hunting.
He sends you a video
Yep,
of a pretty good sized buck
good buck.
from
Yeah.
what we could see.
So he sends me a video at like 7:55.
I thought it was
on
7:44.
Snapchat. Something like that.
Well,
on
he had
Snapchat.
told me 7:44.
He made it. So he sent me it on Snapchat.
Well, he could have taken it and
Yeah.
then sent it because he told me very clearly 7:44 or 6:44. I'm sorry.
No, it would have been 7 because it'd have been 7 because it was like daylight.
Yeah, and then he came
Mm.
around about 8:14. I think.
Let me scroll back.
I
here
have it
real quick.
written down.
So he sent me the second video at 7:56,
okay.
and then the first one that he sent me on Snapchat was probably about 5 minutes before that. So
Okay.
7:50.
Okay. All right.
Roughly. So 7:45, 7:50, somewhere in there.
Gotcha.
Of this buck that he said, where I can just pull up the text and he'll tell me here. He said, he goes, oh, let's see what he says. I said, okay, got one just now. He just texted me this, at 7:43.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay.
So he saw him. He said 7:43, good buck. And he goes, fuck, he's on the hit list at 7:48. I go, is he big? And he sends me the video on Snapchat.
All right.
Then. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's a big buck. He's like, he's pretty wide, not that tall, but he's wide, and he came within bow range. And I'm like, is he heading our way? And you're like, yeah, but he's moving that way, but kind of away from you.
Right.
And I said, which way? And he said, northeast. Okay. So Jake's in a stand 500 yards. We'll say 500 yards
Okay.
for easy math.
Sounds good.
Straight north of us. If you would have turned and looked dead due north,
And there were
and
no
there was
trees,
no trees.
And he had a flag.
there would be a rope that's straight as an arrow. Okay. For whatever reason, this is how it ended up. He said that this deer was going northeast. So that means we're south of him. This deer's going northeast, which makes sense because at the thicket on a creek bed, I saw a lot of deer coming in and out of there.
Wait, so if he was going north
East.
to Jake, then that means he would have been going away from us.
So he came in. So Jake's facing east.
okay.
That stand.
Okay.
He's looking east. If he's sitting in the stand with his back against a tree,
Okay, gotcha.
due east. That deer came in from the west behind him.
Okay.
That first video where you see him crossing over that ATV
Yep.
trail. And he's going south at that point. And then he kind of loops around. And then he goes in front of Jake and goes northeast.
Makes
Okay.
sense now.
And then he says he may have angled south. So I know this is exactly what happened because I've hunted that stand multiple times at this point already. The deer will in that northeast corner. They go straight south in the thicket, very similar to what we were hunting in.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I know it's exactly what happened because where this particular deer came out at would have been if he angled south and came down that line where I saw multiple bucks chasing does for 2 weeks prior, right?
So there's a lot of scent. There's a lot of reason why they would take that route.
Travel corridor.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And so, and I already had that picture of that buck on camera week and a half prior.
Okay.
And then he sent me another video of him at 7:56, and then let's see here.
He came into our life not long after that.
So 7:56, and then 7:58, and then 8:14 is when he asked you guys.
That's right. That's
And
right.
then, yeah.
So again,
I'm glad I have the timestamp.
I am too.
Yeah.
And I think, so what we're talking about, I mean, it's pretty obvious what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We have the timeline of this deer of Elmo walking past Jake and kind of cutting back around. I can't.
He wasn't walking. He was huffing.
He was kind of getting it. Yeah. I can't visualize it as much as you because I don't know the property, but
trotting head down, sniffing, trying to find something.
But he did. So we have a timeline of exactly, basically what he did. So it's like if a dude went in and robbed a bank, you see him across the street at the Shell station at this time, and then he, you know what I mean? Like so
checking all the street cameras. Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, again, things are a little quiet.
Very quiet.
Brady's pretty much telling me just get back out here first thing in the morning. And let's see. We weren't going in.
No.
But it was like, we're going to sit here for a while.
I was fully ready to sit all day with you. Stand all day with you.
Yeah. You're going to get up and down. You're doing burpees.
Yeah. I was fully committed to it all day long.
Me too.
The temperatures were going to suck. We were out because we knew there was a cold front coming. Obviously, we had freezing degrees this morning.
Well, then remember those leaves started to fall real good.
Yeah,
and the temperature dropped a little bit.
The wind came, and the temperatures dropped, and I'm like, all right, this is kind of nice. But yeah, so he texts us that second video at 7:56, and then that's it.
We had there was no like, let's go, because like I told you, dude, and you agreed, and everybody that I know agrees. Sitting out in the woods, it's just therapeutic and beautiful. And I didn't care if I saw another one all day. Really, honestly,
it's hard to replicate or to explain to somebody unless you actually physically do it.
Yeah,
and just being out. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, that was probably the third or fourth time I've ever hunted out of a blind.
Oh, you're always in a stand.
Always in a stand. I like stand hunting because of the visibility.
Sure.
And because you're not in the line of sight of deer.
Okay, right. They don't look up quite as much and all that.
Sure. And because, too, if you have your deer stand hung strategically like you're supposed to, you got trees behind you, all around you, so when they look up, there's no silhouette.
Right.
So you're hidden in plain sight.
So we're hanging out. Again, at this point, it's slowing down. We're kind of just talking, not kind of, we're talking about life and kids.
We're talking about it all, man.
Business and work and just we were.
Fucking everything.
We did not let go of tactical strategy whatsoever. We were still whispering and being really quiet.
We're whispering and not even making eye contact.
Yeah. He was looking out one side. I'm just kind of panning out in front of me the other. We were just talking. Like, he moved out. We don't get to bullshit as much. So we were just catching up. I get this tap on my left shoulder, and I described this. A buddy of mine at work, Steve, when I told him the story the other day, when you have a story like this, you're animated, every fucking detail. And he's like, hey, man, what you need to do when you need to write this stuff down. Because, this thing, it sounded to me like it's been passed down through generations of his family, or he just started it. But when you get a buck like that, or your first buck, or something like that, he said, I think you should definitely start writing just a few paragraphs, because as time goes on, some of these details are gonna slip. It's just. Well, I mean, I'm talking about like
slip or change for the better.
that too.
They might get a little bit like, my fish was this big.
Yeah.
My fish was this big,
or just kind of take a back seat and you don't add them in. So what he was telling me is like, write this stuff down. When you get them back, put it in an envelope or whatever you got to do, and put it right behind the mount. So
luckily you won't have to now.
Exactly. And I told him, I was like, I go, dude, my buddy's coming over. We're going to fucking podcast about it. Yeah. So, but his point was, one day when you pass that down to Cash, he'll always have that story that you wrote. And I thought that was so fucking cool, man. So I've got my paper right here in front of me. I've been writing it.
Well,
He
that's
said
like-
a couple paragraphs.
yeah.
I'm on page 5.
Well, that's like when we were getting out of the blind to go look. I was like, yeah, we gotta sit down and talk about this one.
Absolutely.
Because to me, it just is so funny. Because like I told you, I've been listening to your podcast, right?
Yeah.
Because I have long drives or when I'm
Sure.
working, I always have headphones.
Brush
in,
hogging,
so
yeah.
half the time I would rather listen to somebody talking about whatever
Of course.
than you listen to
Of
music.
course.
Listen to the same song for the 1,000th time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, same shitty music we all listen to.
Right.
And your last podcast with the guy that you were in the
Ethan
sniper,
Place, yeah.
he had been talking about hunting. And when did you record that?
That was on our birthday. That was on the 10th.
So it was that Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was the morning before you saw me.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Just the day
Dude,
before.
it's like full circle. It's so weird to me, and I can't I keep thinking about it, that you had talked about it, and then you even said in that podcast, you had alluded to like, well, you know, you'd like to hunt, but you just don't have the opportunity. And my ass comes along, not 8 hours later, and I'm like, yeah, dude, come out and hunt.
This whole thing's weird.
You know what I mean?
It's really fucking
and then
weird.
It all comes to fruition.
It's fucking really.
I just thought it was cool.
Trust me,
I don't
I've
know.
been thinking all this stuff too. I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
how did that even work out? So, I get this tap on my left shoulder. Now, again, Brady's behind me, standing, sitting. He's got his binos out the rear. There's a how many acre lake behind us?
Like 15 acre lake, probably. I mean, I can see it's 30, 40 yards behind us.
So he's on the glass, just looking around. We're still totally.
Sorry to cut you off, but
No.
the reason I also too have that blind here is that 9 times out of 10, that wind will swirl on that lake and come off that lake at our back. I'm sorry, not at our back. The way that it lays out, it should be coming where the wind's coming from. Like it swirls and comes at our face.
Yeah, right.
Why I don't know why I said
Which
back.
is good. No,
Which
I
is
got
good.
you. Yeah.
And that's kind of how it was that morning too. We had a wind in our face slightly. It was at our back, and then it shifted, and it was at our face. So that when you're in that location, that deer was upwind of us.
I got to tell you, I did not
Didn't even pay
recognize that
attention.
at all.
I noticed that too because I felt the wind on my neck slightly when I creeped open the blind as light came in.
Yeah.
And then I noticed it shifted after like a half an hour to an hour because it's such a big body of water right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, we're in thick woods, so the wind's cut a little bit anyway.
It's going to play. Yeah.
But it's just weird how it worked.
I'm telling you.
Those first 2 deer that ran by, I even told you, I go, they just don't give a shit. They were downwind of us.
You said it.
I know they smelled us, and they still didn't care.
No, they didn't. No one took off like, well, somebody's
Yeah.
over there. They were
This
just,
time of the year,
they were just moving.
don't care.
Yeah. So I got a more aggressive, excited, not just there's a doe over there tap on my left shoulder. So when I got that tap, I knew that it was something I need to perk up and pay attention to. I am on Brady's Remington 700. 30
no,
chamber.
So that
30
30-06 is a Remington 783.
Okay.
So it's like the step down from the 700. I have a 700 and 270, chambered in 270.
It's my new favorite rifle.
Yeah,
That's what I'm doing.
one was I bought that rifle, dude, when I was broker than shit.
Yeah.
I was working at Bass Pro. I was a para, so I wasn't even a teacher. I was a para at that time, working full time there, making $13 an hour if I was lucky.
Yeah.
And then I was working at Bass Pros too to supplement my income. It was like they had it on sale. I think I paid scope and all rifle scope combo was like $225.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And factory sighted in, when it comes out, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
And so they basically put a bore sight through it, sighted at 25 yards, and called it a day.
Yep.
So of course you take it out, and I told you, they say, you're only supposed to shoot 3 rounds a year.
Yeah.
1 to sight it in and 2 deer, right?
Yeah.
And I think I still have the original box of shells that I bought for that rifle, for that same reason. But
and so
it's a tack driver, man.
Oh yeah.
For as cheap as it was, it's a freaking tack driver.
To go back on the rifle, Brady had sent me where he was sitting the opening day, the buck that he had gotten. He had sent me the photo where he was, where the buck was, and then how when you take a photo, you can draw on it. He sent me the photo of the lane that he
you
had.
almost can't even see the deer.
It's not much, dude.
Yeah.
It's not 10, 12 a foot. I don't know. It
yeah.
wasn't.
And I mean, it's just a weird feeling because I bow hunt a fuck ton. And it's just bow hunting. You have to have a clear lane. I mean, they have to be sitting still.
Yeah.
You want them fully broadside.
Yeah, sure.
Yada, yada, yada. With the rifle, it's like a sense of just like power.
Yeah. Well,
You know
of
what I
course.
mean? I mean, even just like conceal and carry, or if you're out in the boonies, open carrying, you just have a sense
Safety,
of like
yeah.
just safety and
Yeah.
just like power
Yeah.
that you have to, protect at the same time
Sure.
as like you just feel a sense of like, empowerment or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
How
when
many?
when
go ahead.
you're rifle hunting though, like it. Hey, if I see this deer and he's within 150 yards, because like I was telling you, like when I rifle hunt, I don't have a fucking rifle rest. I'm hunting out of a hang on.
No, yeah, there wasn't.
I shoulder that thing up freehand.
Right.
And so I'm comfortable and I can hit it out to 150 yards.
Yeah.
Get after that, you want to have, because you're dealing with bullet drop.
Of course.
You want to
Wind.
have a little bit
Oh,
more
yeah.
of a steady rest, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm not a marksman shooter
I
at
hear you.
all.
I hear
I'm
you.
a redneck.
Yeah.
I shoot a lot,
Yeah.
which helps. I'm comfortable. But
Of
that's
course.
the thing. Control your breath. Be comfortable.
Of course.
You should be fine. This is probably like a 70-yard shot, give or take, maybe 80. And maybe
Yours?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought we were talking about mine. I'm like, fuck. I thought we. Anyway,
yours
go
was
ahead.
probably 50,
Yeah,
60,
it was-
but very similar terrain.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very similar. You had
Same patch of woods, right?
well, about 600 yards apart.
That way, you were over there. Yeah.
But it was very similar to where I had like a 6-inch window to punch this round in.
Yeah, it was tight.
And I shot over a doe because he had a doe that he was on, and then she was out, because this is how it always happens. The doe will come out into the open clearing and she'll sniff around, she'll stomp, she'll do whatever to make sure it's clear. And that buck will hang back a little bit when he's breeding a doe. And he was back about 15 yards into this thick shit. And I knew he was back there for like the last 4 hours. That's why I never climbed down, because we were talking about climbing down and going to grab lunch. And I'm like, man, I really want to do a full day sit. I got some beef jerky, I got coffee, I got water, I'm good.
Right.
And I was like, but then we were like starting to get slow periods, getting warm. I'm like, fuck, I kind of want to climb down, Ugh. But then I saw a deer come through, and then I saw another deer. I'm like, what? I'm just going to stay. And then an hour went by, 2 hours went by. I think there was a window where I was only seeing like 4 deer an hour, which in some cases is great.
Yeah.
But for what I had been seeing, I was kind
Right.
of like, for opening day, and the rut was on full. I'm like, man, I should be seeing more deer. Temperature sucked though. And so I'm glad I stayed. It worked out
Sure.
well. But in your case though, a little different
Yeah.
scenario.
How many grains was that round? Just so I got it.
Those were
150. I thought you said
150 grain Winchester Deer Season XP Extreme Points.
Okay.
So like we had talked about beforehand, I'm like, these rounds fucking nasty. I've been shooting these exclusively out of that gun, only for deer hunting. I don't use them for target. I've used a couple for target, but normally if I just want to shoot the gun, I'll use those Remington core locks.
Right.
They're like the same grain. I mean, they're not the same bullet, so they may not have the same flight path.
Well,
but
exactly the same. Right.
they're the Remington and
close.
Winchester, like Pepsi and Cola, Coke, it's very similar.
Yeah.
And so, but the rounds, I don't like the core locks as much, but these Extreme Points, they have that like the bullet's like half jacketed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's a lot more exposed lead. So the impact is a little bit more,
It's just.
which we noticed.
It was fucking gnarly.
But 150 grain,
30-06. Right.
Yeah.
So round has been chambered from right when we sat down.
Yeah.
Um,
Locked it
safety still on at this point.
in. Yep.
I get this tap to my left, so obviously I know which way to go. I look over and I saw a body and I saw movement. I know enough to know, like,
Yeah.
look for movement and stuff like that,
Yeah. Just scan.
But I didn't quite see the whole picture
Yeah.
for like a few seconds.
Sure.
But I knew by that tap, I should be ready. Like,
Yeah.
I need to get up and get ready.
I believe what I said was like, I just tapped you. I'm like, big buck, big buck, big buck.
Yeah, or shooter or
Or
something.
shooter buck.
You
Yeah,
said
yeah,
something.
Yeah. I'm like, get ready, get ready. Because
So-
I told you before, 5 to 10 seconds
I
is
know.
all you're going to get.
I know. So I got that going through my head too.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Which
this,
kind of panics you a little bit, rushes you.
of course.
Which is the last thing you want.
I know.
It's
It's
to be
not
rushed.
It's not perfect environment, but
Yeah.
I understand not having perfect environment. So this window to my left where I would be orientated to see this deer,
It was like a 45 degree, I would
Yeah.
say, from where you were facing.
I had to do a little bit of twisting.
Yeah.
It has a piece of, if you have never sat in a ground blind before, if you have this, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a piece of material that keeps the structural integrity
Integrity, yeah.
of the window, if you will, like right down the center, right? So first when I get over to my left and find him just with my open eyes, I'm not even on the scope yet. So right when I saw him, and then Brady's excitement rolled over to me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck, I know this is something I need to be paying good attention
it
to.
was a no doubter.
Well, you knew that. I did.
Well, I had him glassed.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm saying.
I saw movement, and then I pulled up my binos, and I saw him. I mean, like I said, it's 50 yards maybe.
Yeah.
50, 60 yards. And I'm like, I know the second I saw him through my glass, I'm like, this is a fucking hammer.
Yeah.
He's a donkey.
I got all that information without many words being said, just from the tap.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, I can feel it now. It was like a serious,
Yeah.
So I get up, and now, so I'm on the left side of that little piece of material. He's walking from left to right is where I'm kind of facing.
He was coming out of the north.
Yeah. Right.
Going
exactly.
southeast, like I told you they would do. Yeah.
So I see him, and I get him on the scope. Selector goes to fire. And again, lanes are a big deal in shooting. I know enough to know I'm not going to take some rush shot. It would be better. It would be just as much of a win to me.
Yeah.
To know that I didn't take a stupid fucking shot and shoot a fucking tree. That to me, I would live with that much harder.
That'd be a tough one. Yeah.
So I'm coming across from left to right, and I bump that piece of material.
Oh, he looked right at us too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he looked directly at us.
Yeah. So I bumped that piece of material, and now
I was a little nervous.
I have choices to like scoot my seat back and come around to the right. I wasn't taking.
He kind of did like you hunched back with the gun up, pulled the gun up over this little
I brought the barrel in and around, and then poked back out.
And this used the blind kind of as like a rest, because I mean it's perfect level for it.
That's all I had.
Yeah, it was great.
So at this point, I see Elmo for the first time. Like Brady said, he's fucking staring at me like I am pretty sure he was looking at me.
Yeah.
And knowing I was looking at him, like it was like there was a second there.
But here's the thing with deer, though. Their eyesight's so fucking bad.
Yeah.
They key on movement and scent.
I'll give it to you. So when I bring that barrel in and come around, I thought, well, he fucking knows exactly.
But I think, too, because that wind shifted, he wasn't sending us. He wasn't winding us.
It didn't look that way to me.
Well, I think what happened too is
to the untrained.
We had that particular window opened all the way up.
Yeah, that's true.
The window I saw him about, I had it cracked like 2 inches at the top, so I could move around and look out there and nobody would see me. And the reason I had none of the windows behind us opened up was so that if you look through, you don't see a silhouette. You just see black. But where that window was set up, the window direct, because those are the front 3 or 4 windows were all open.
Yeah.
And the back 3 or 4 windows were all closed.
Right.
And he could probably see movement through it, which is why he was staring.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, he got 5 seconds.
Dude, I'm glad you weren't sitting down like you just were a few minutes ago.
Oh, yeah. I would have never saw him.
I might have seen the tail end of him.
Yeah. Because there was a big-ass tree there.
Yeah.
That he went behind.
Yeah.
Before you got your opportunity to shoot at him. And it could have gone one of 10,000 ways.
Real quick.
He could have been like, fuck this, I'm out. Or he could have just darted and kept going and never stopped.
Yeah.
Something. And I think, did I grunt at him? Or
I did.
You made a noise.
Because I asked you to let me do that.
Yeah.
Because
like,
I know enough.
Because I asked you, do you want me to stop him?
No.
And you're like, no, I got it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got it.
Yep. It's on you now.
Let it happen.
So I come around that piece of material. Now I get on him. And I know exactly where he is, but again, with my other eye, I'm looking at lanes, right?
Yeah.
That's most important.
You're like, where the hell am I going to shoot him at?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm anticipating his movement,
right?
And then when he's going to walk into a good lane for him.
Yep.
So I did. Got him stopped.
He stopped.
And again, that wind was a little heavy, so I don't know if I did it twice or not. It seems like I did it once and he didn't hear me, and I had to hit him
twice.
again.
You did it twice.
All right.
And when he stopped too, he was quartering 2.
Oh yeah.
That's which isn't terrible. You really want them either perfectly broadside,
of course,
or in my opinion, with the rifle especially, quartering away, so that if you do shoot vitals and he's quartering away, it's going to go out of his front shoulder.
Neck, right.
You don't have a chance. If he's quartering in and you shoot him, depending on how far he's quartering in, you could hit stomach, whatever.
Fuck some shit up.
Gut shot.
Yeah.
Because that bullet could pass through. As we know, it does.
Yeah.
And so he was quartering to just enough to where you could still almost get a clean broadside shot. Damn near.
So like I told you, I had the crosshairs on that front shoulder. Again, I was hoping for full broadside. I didn't get that, but his actions, the way he was staring at me, the way he was moving when I first put eyes on him, I believed exactly what you said about him. This dude is not going to be standing around.
No.
Come to find out through that video, he did not a lot of standing around, period. He was moving.
He was moving.
So when I got around that piece of material, I know I felt 100% confident that I had those crosshairs right on that fucking front shoulder.
Yep.
I know for a fact, well, I know especially now and afterwards that I did not pull that shot. I was not rushed.
Yeah.
I knew I had to go quick, but this motherfucker, he just stopped in such a good lane. He presented himself to me.
And I feel like if you wouldn't have pulled the trigger when you did, you maybe had in 2 seconds and he would have been gone.
Oh,
he would have kept moving.
I have to
That's what
agree.
they do.
Yeah. And finding him in another good lane and getting him stopped again.
And he would have been even farther.
Right.
Who knows? Who knows?
Different adjustment. So I did, man. I took my breath and waited and exhaled and tried to listen and feel.
And I never watched you. I had eyes on him the whole time.
And I'm glad about that.
Yeah. I just kept watching him because I wanted to see once you took that shot, because you can see.
I'm getting like excited now.
You can see if you watch the deer, if you have another set of person or you have a camera or whatever, you can watch the deer and their body language will tell you what you need to know on the shot. If they don't drop, that means you didn't hit him you can, as we found out, you can shoot a deer in the vitals and they not drop.
Yeah, for sure.
Happens all the time with the bow.
For sure.
But that kinetic energy from that round, that's what knocks them down. That stopping power that we always talk about in handguns and all that shit.
Yeah.
But this was a big fucking deer.
Yeah.
He was strong.
Yeah.
And you hit him. And he went, I think he went every bit of 20 yards.
Well, hold on. So again, from YouTube, and they slow it down and you get to see that
the impact. Yeah.
Right.
And if we would have had it on video and could have zoomed in and we had an awesome camera, you would have seen that it did hit his shoulder.
See, I didn't get to see that.
It hit him. I knew it hit him. Well, I knew you hit him.
I knew that my shot was good. Yeah. But when I came off of the scope a little bit with the recoil and racked another round, like I had to pick him back up. And by the time I picked him up, he had already turned.
He was gone
and was starting to run.
And I had eyes on him the whole time. And where you hit him was just on the other side of the fence, which to anybody listening, we had 100%, right to shooting there. It was all.
I wouldn't be putting it on here if it was illegal.
Yeah, it was all permissible. It was all good.
I shot him.
And so about 5-10 yards behind him, the ground kind of went down like a little berm. And so once he ran like 10-15 yards, like I lost him. But because he went down. He didn't run off. I knew if he would have ran off, because when deer run, they bounce, they hop, whatever. I would have seen him antlers, I would have seen tail, I would have seen something.
Yeah.
But there was also out of all these trees that are, max 8 inch, 10 inch in diameter. For some reason, there was a tree there that was like 5 foot in diameter.
Yeah,
it was huge.
Yeah.
But I lost him behind that. But I never saw an access escape. I'm like, he's down.
When I picked him back, I know. When I picked him back up, I saw whitetail. But we both noticed something, and I'm glad you brought that up because it just sprang back to my mind. We both noticed when he took off, he did to me what I call like a little stutter step. Right. So when he first booked and I was watching him and had good sight on him, he was on a clear full tilt, just fucking gallop, And then when he did that little stutter thing, you said something and it was like something to the effect of, I think he just kind of fucking stumbled or something.
Yeah. So
it was indicative to me that I knew that I did what I was.
He was hurting, man.
I was all the way sure that I knew I put a good shot on, but like I needed a little bit. Of verification just for the animal, I wanted to make sure I fucking got a good one.
I noticed too when he was running, he wasn't running full sprint. You could tell something was awry with his run, which is usually indicative of a front shoulder.
Sure.
You just fucking hammered his shoulder, broke his leg basically. Yeah. So, but when I saw him before I lost behind that tree, he did like a dip, like stumble.
Yeah.
And that's always indicative of, all right, they're going down.
Right.
That's that first initial like crashing.
Yeah.
Right. That we talk about. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
I mean,
my biggest thing,
20 yards.
My biggest thing, and I kept asking you, did I hit him?
Oh,
and you're like, dude, you fucking hit him.
Yeah, you hit him. And I just didn't know where.
Yeah.
Like, because
Well, you're not looking through the scope
no,
with me.
I'm
you know
just
what
seeing.
I mean?
I'm seeing his ass.
Yeah.
running away.
Right. You heard a bang and then
Yeah.
a run.
And then I was seeing the side of him that you didn't. That was the backside, which we later found out there wasn't a clean pass through.
No.
And there's a reason why.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a clean pass through, so I didn't see any blood coming out. And
I
even
know.
when we got to the point of impact, when we had no blood, there was 0 blood trail at all.
I was like, what the fuck, man?
Which is very uncommon, especially with the rifle shot.
From that distance, that round,
exactly.
that placement even.
0 blood trail. There
Yeah.
was no blood until we found him.
Yeah.
That was the only spot with blood.
So I'm fucking jacked 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't, Brady, I know it was a good shot. I know
Yeah.
my fuck. He's like, dude, you got him. Let's just chill out because again,
Yeah.
we lost sight.
Yeah.
So now, as all you hunters well know, and people hopefully listening are not hunters, you got to give it a few because
Yeah.
you don't want to run up on the deer. He's still full of adrenaline. He just
Yeah.
got shot in his fucking chest
Yeah.
while he was chasing some chicks.
Right.
And you don't want to run up on them and jump them, and then they run even further. Now you got
Yeah.
more work cut out for you, which turns out I'm fucking glad I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do.
Yeah. No, I mean, so they say with like a bow, unless you know, like, I mean, you got guys that film hunts, right? And they can literally slow-mo and see exactly where you penetrated and
Right.
what you hit, vitals, whatever. And then if you see the deer go down, that's one thing. But if you lose sight of the deer and you didn't think it was a good shot, it's always safe to kind of back out, go the opposite direction, work around them
Yeah.
so they don't bump them, right? Because
Yeah.
if they'll
Yeah.
bed down, and eventually they'll bleed out, die, whatever. With a rifle, though, in most cases, because your accuracy should be a lot better. You should be able to get into the vitals a lot easier
Of course.
because you're in a rifle. And 9 times out of 10, if the deer doesn't drop, he's going to be dead within 40, 50 yards.
Yeah.
I knew that deer was dead because I never saw him exit. I never saw him leave. He just went down, and I lost sight of him. I knew that deer. That deer was honestly probably dead within the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, again, going back to the beginning of this thing and my emotional side of it, like I just wanted verification that I did my job correctly and that
Yeah.
and that he was fucking not just out there
Sure, it was an
kicking
ethical,
around and so
clean
yeah, like,
kill. Right.
that was
Which
so much.
was
I
not
either
the
wanted to
case.
fucking miss him completely, which
Yeah.
I was very confident I did not
And
do,
did not do
or
that.
kill him quick.
Right.
So we give it the old, I don't know how many minutes we give
I
it.
go, let's give him 5 to 10. I think we gave him like 6 minutes.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know if we got one to wait anymore. I know that deer's dead.
I was itching.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, let's just take a slow approach.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's down.
So you
There's
go,
no doubt.
dude, you go
I go,
ahead of me.
I go, and I'm like, I trust this ammo. Let these suckers work. I
Yeah.
know these things.
I
will-
told you I
will
could
do a
shoot, but
job.
you've never seen that. So,
Right.
like, yeah, I mean,
Well,
you kind of got to take that at
assume
face
you know
value.
how to use a firearm. Just,
Yeah. Yeah.
I assume you did. This wasn't your first time. I
But
mean,
there's a lot going on, so
Right.
I could very easily.
there's a lot of variables
Yeah.
involved. A lot.
So we get out of the blind, and wisely, Brady's like, hey, either go in front of me or just to the side. Be ready in case he does
Right.
jump
Yeah,
up.
you got the gun in your
try
hands.
to finish him.
You lead a little bit in front of me, and then that way I can kind of keep eyes on too. And then if for some reason he's not dead and he wants to jump up and take off.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you said, we walked over to that big tree. Now
Yeah.
that was the big marker that we knew where he was.
Yeah, he was just to the right of that when you shot him.
And again, we found no blood
0
over
blood.
there. So
Yeah.
there was doubt there for a second, but it wasn't far after that traveling in that
I
direction.
think I walked like 15 feet and I saw a white belly.
Yeah. Well, no, I thought you
Or-
saw antlers, right?
No,
because
I saw a white belly.
see, I didn't see that. The one thing I saw in that whole patch of thicket was this different colored thing.
Stick.
Yeah. It just
Right.
it did not look the
Yeah.
same as everything. One of us is
I
not
saw
like the
I
others.
saw like the back of his white belly. 'Cause,
I
I
didn't-
mean, it's like sticking out like a sore thumb.
hear
and
ya.
brown and brown.
I
is what it
didn't
was.
see that at all.
It was overcast too at that time.
right.
So it's all brown. Everything's brown.
Yeah.
It's dead this time of the year. Everything's dead. There's no green. So white sticks out like a sore thumb.
Big time. So when I thought we saw the same thing. I guess we didn't. When I saw him, it still seemed to me like he was like at least another 100 yards away.
Yeah.
Right. So we're like slowly kind of walking. And then so now again, we're in thicket.
Yeah.
Right. So
that thicket, that depth perception.
so it's not just A to B. You don't just walk in a straight line.
You're walking diagonally, like those Plinko boards from
right,
Price is Right?
Exactly.
Where they drop it down. It's like ding, ding, ding. That's the wood line.
Yeah.
We're walking through. We're dodging limbs and trees and shit.
Right.
I mean, it looks like a scene out of like the freaking. I don't even know. It's thick shit.
So I see him. I see an antler. What I was pretty positive was an antler.
Yeah.
But as I'm walking over, I kind of got to dodge and weave in and around.
So
and
you
like,
lose your bearing.
I stopped that. I stopped seeing that for a second. And then I kind of come around another tree. I stopped seeing that. Little do I know, Brady starts recording me walking up on this thing. Now, I'll say it's funny because it looked exactly what I know I would look like on a patrol in Iraq. Like it was not a deer hunter stomping through the woods. Like I thought the VC was fucking out there, dug in, waiting on us,
Yeah. You're dodging punji sticks.
Yeah, dude. I was like fucking, it was heavy. So we get over there. Now, again, I kind of took another path just around some shit. Brady was over to my right.
I'm behind you to the right, probably about 10, 15 feet.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you go, he's down. And I was like, fucking, and on the video, I'm like, where?
Yeah, you're looking like you're probably looking 30 foot to the left.
I was looking for fucking Jake out there somewhere. I was trying to find some shit that was like
you were
way
looking
too
for
far
orange.
away. Yeah.
He was probably 30 to 40 feet to your right, like to the right, and then probably only like, I don't know, like 40 feet away.
Yeah.
In front.
I thought because you don't realize how much ground you've covered and then it changes and just, everything got kind of fucked up on me.
Yeah.
And so,
and I'm like looking at the deer, and you're on camera, and I'm like looking back at the deer. I'm like, does he not see it?
Did you see your fucking deer? So I go,
like, no, he's over there.
I go, where? And you're like, right there.
Yeah.
I come like look around this tree and see this fucking guy laying there, and like, so now I'm like, holy fuck, man! Like I just got that fucking deer, So. Again, in the video, I walk up and I think now my eyes were playing tricks on me because looking at his eyeballs, they do that thing. And I hate to be like graphic. If you don't like this, I appreciate that. You can shut down, man. I totally understand. But this is just my observation, and I wanted to try to paint this picture of a awesome day in my world that I try to give you guys. But I was looking at his eyeball, and it did do that glazed over thing, So like to me, life was gone, and it was over, and it was done, and there was no suffering, and like so again, my main concern. But I thought, and I told Brady, I go, hang on, he's still breathing, and you were like, no, he isn't, dude, he's done. No. And I was like, can you see that? Because I could have swore his fucking belly was in and out, I could have swore. He wasn't breathing. Turns out, it was done.
Yeah, there was a little carnage on his breathing apparatus.
Well, so I know you remember. I walk over and I could see what looked like, if you could imagine breaking a rib, it protruding. Well, not imagine. This is exactly what happened. It protruding out of the side of your stomach where your rib would be, but it didn't break through the skin.
Right.
So like there was this little hump there, and I was like, because I'm looking around like where did I hit him? Because again, there's no blood, there's no exit. Not a full.
There was the only blood that I saw was around its mouth on the ground.
Right. Yeah.
Because there was no exit hole, and the entrance hole, which we found at a later time, the entrance hole, and this is the weirdest thing to me, the entrance hole of impact was literally, it looked like, I'm sorry, the exit hole looked like the entrance hole, and the entrance hole looked like the exit hole, because there was an exit, but it just didn't go through the skin, didn't break the hide.
Come on. You goddamn dog, you're interrupting my story. Go on, go get your mama. She's upstairs.
But yeah, so like it's all backward for me. So the exit hole that protruded out of the actual body, but didn't break the hide, was like the size basically of the caliber of the bullet, a little bit bigger. And then the entrance hole, which we come to find out, looked like the exit hole, just mangled meat, lung mixed in together with broken bone, shards of bone, shards of the bullet.
Yeah, there was fragments.
But that was the entrance hole.
Yeah.
Which at the outside, though, it
Hold
was
on
like...
1 second.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
All right, we're back. Sorry, Echo's lost his fucking elephant toy under the steps, and I had to get him out of here, so he's with his mommy now. So you were talking about the entrance wound and the bone fragment.
Right. So like when before it was the deer was cut open, gutted, whatever, there was literally like a hole the size of like a penny on the actual hide on the side that you shot him. little bit of, if you pushed around it, it's a little graphic, but if you pushed around it, some blood would come out.
Yeah.
And that was about it. There was no exit hole on the outside. Well, once we got the deer, retrieved it and whatever, and we found out as we were taking the hide off, and caping it out and gutting it, the exit hole was like the size of like a nickel, and the entrance hole was like the size of like your fist. It makes no sense to me.
So I'm gonna go back. When he was laying there again, the entry is on the ground, so I couldn't even see that part. But I remember I put my hand on that kind of protrusion.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like I put a little bit of pressure on it, and it almost seemed like an air pop. You know what I mean? Like it was something. It wasn't just hot. It wasn't just
out of place.
Fur standing up.
Yeah.
But dude,
it was it was damage.
Yeah.
I mean, that bullet did exactly what I expected it to do.
Yeah. I mean, it worked.
It took him out quick.
But again, when I saw him, your expression and your like tempo and your temperament painted the bigger picture for me. I still, I guess, don't realize like what, the severity, like how big
he's a big boy.
But I could tell he was big, and he had his fucking neck on him. I said it a couple of times. It was like Tyson in the 80s, man. Dude, it was just like fucking this neck, but
thick.
There was that huge part of me, and you graciously like let me like experience it, because again, like I just took something. I just
shut up. Let you have a moment.
No, it was good.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, and I'm not afraid to admit this, and I don't think most hunters are. If you don't have some sense of emotion take over, some sense of just like gratitude, sympathy, empathy, respect, whatever you want to call it, for that animal, I mean, you're just not human.
Yeah.
I mean, you see these guys that do these like camera hunts and their footage, and they'll shoot a deer, and they're like fist pumping. They're like, yeah, and they're like going nuts. I see that, and I was like, all right, dude, chill out. But I get it too at the same time.
That just might be how they show their excitement.
Exactly, right? I get it. And like when I shoot a deer, man, I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Big buck, small buck, though, I get a sense of adrenaline because you get that. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah,
the adrenaline rush is nuts. But I mean, I don't get like fist pumping. I mean, granted, I'm always with myself, so that could be why. And I'm not filming it, so I'm not trying to get views either.
Right.
But you definitely get this sense of like just over you. It's like,
it was
okay,
heavy.
I just did something.
Yeah.
But then also I'm like, well, now the work begins.
There was
what I mean?
Too. Yeah.
That's the other, because it's short lived.
Yeah.
It's there for a little bit, and then you're like, all right, now I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
Now the real work happens.
So Jake caught this guy on film coming through
20 minutes.
I mean, 20 minutes. And
before us.
He came in, and he was put down quick and ethically and humanely and all that good stuff. So yeah, I was just kind of checking him out, and I don't know, man. I sent the photo to a buddy.
Yeah.
Same guy, Steve, at work. And of course, and I talked to him yesterday when I was telling the story. He's the guy that told me about writing the he had to text me back with Bambi.
Yeah.
Because you can't just go like, fuck, he's he had to fuck with me a little bit.
Give you credit.
No,
of course not. Why the fuck would they do that?
He had to fuck with me a little bit, but
yeah, there's no fun in that.
So pre-hunting, I was talking to you on the phone a couple days before, and I go, hey man, if it's cool with you, I would like to, I got to field dress my first deer.
Yeah.
I shot him. It was like a couple minutes later, I wouldn't have taken a shot on a deer.
Sure,
Like it was getting late.
Oh yeah.
And the locker that we were taking it to was closing soon, and we had like a 30-minute drive there. So the same thing, my buddy Adam Clayton, he took me, I was asking him like, hey man, because I've been doing my 2000s research, and that equals YouTube. And I'm like, this is something I really want to like
experience.
Yeah, just kind of like see what's going on and stuff. So we had that conversation. We're like, dude, I'll sit back and fucking it's on you, So which I was totally, I wanted anyway.
Yeah.
So I didn't know the protocol. Like, yes, of course, I wanted to get a photo of him, and yeah, I was very happy and all that stuff. Once I knew that he was dead, though.
Yeah.
I got a lot happier about the whole thing. Like, and then you were like, dude, he's a fucking big deer, man. I'm like, is he? Like,
a shooter,
seriously,
bro.
I was like,
Yeah,
is he
he's a mature
really?
buck. He's a
You're like,
yeah.
yeah, dude. I don't know if I've ever shot a deer that big. So
Yeah.
it started to set in that like this was a really cool fucking buck. So that lake that we had talked about. So now, you from where he was laying at, you looked back at the blind with your what's it called where you get the yardage, where you can see how far away.
Oh, rangefinder.
Rangefinder. You I think said 84 or 82 yards.
I didn't have my rangefinder with me because I never take it rifle hunting, but I have on my app.
Oh, that's right.
I ranged it and I saw there was like 84 yards.
It was right in there somewhere. So, meaning it wasn't far away
didn't
from
go
where
far.
we were. But you had brought up a pretty cool idea about getting him over to that lake to get like good backdrop for
Let's
a photo.
drag him up. Well, we had to go by that lake anyways to get back
Exactly.
to the vehicle.
You're like, dude, it's your first one. Get a good photo.
Let's get a good picture of you there, and get that lake behind you there, so it's kind of a cool just backdrop instead of just this shitty ass woods that we're in.
Yeah. So
plus the ground was clear to lay him out. And whatever.
As we talked about earlier, you have all that equipment at your house. So the plan from the get go that we were going to do was we'll get him to the side by side, take him back to the house. We'll lift him up out of there and do it that way. So
bake in my woods and
So I said,
wife's not too keen of having gut piles around the house.
No,
so,
I guess not.
yeah,
so I said,
in the woods.
do I field dress him here or what? You're like, no, dude. Actually, it's easier because you're gonna hide him.
Raise him up.
It's easier to do it that way. So this is where the work begins, and this was important for me too. Because you had said, "Hey, man, I'll help you." I go, "No, that like to me, the least I can do is fucking try to handle this fucking
bust
guy.
my ass,
yeah,
and hate it for a little bit,
yeah." Because on your third hunt, sitting in a blind, like this dude just presents himself. Like there's got to be some fucking work involved,
dude.
To me,
how it all happened was just so perfect. It never happens like that. What I mean by that is, rarely do you go hunt for the first time that year. The first time that year. This is the first time you've been out deer hunting.
My third time in my life.
In your life. Okay? You get set up in a blind, which most people don't really hunt out of blinds.
Right.
It's not as common as you think. You're in a thick shit, and you're probably thinking, and I wouldn't be shocked if you were probably thinking, like, this is a shitty spot.
I did. I thought that. I was like, dude, this is kind of busy out
here. If you look at it, dude, your farthest shot you're going to get is about what we had.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I was like, dude, they're coming through here quick. It's almost better to have like a no scope and like use like a lever action rifle with like iron sights, because it's all just quick. Get the gun up and shoot.
Yeah, right. I got you.
But it never happens like the way it happened, to where your first day out, you get up, we get in the stand, and then within less than 2 hours of legal, just under 2 hours of legal, do you have a very large buck down.
Right.
On your first hunt, whatever it is. It's funny, but like, you didn't get to fucking suffer. It was 54 degrees.
No, I didn't suffer at all.
Hell, I had to take off first when we were at my house, backtracking, when I first opened the garage door and come out and pull the side-by-side out to turn the heat on to let it warm up a little bit, I'm like, I have to turn the AC on. It's fucking hot.
Yeah.
I took off my underlayer. I had 2 layers on my top. A hoodie type thing, hunting hoodie, and then like just a thin layer below that. And I was just down to my bibs and just that thin layer because I was already hot.
Yeah.
And
I had on jeans.
Yeah.
A whole scent lock top and bottom that my buddy had given me. My buddy Nick at work gave it to me. He's like, "Hey man, use this shit." And a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
Dude.
We were not.
No,
we were
I did not
in
get
it
to
for the
suffer.
cold weather. There was no suffering. You didn't sit all day.
Yeah.
You didn't, have that trial and turbulations of what. I mean, because up to this point, I already got 3 deer on the ground at this point. So like, I am in no position to want to really shoot anything. I mean, we could have stuck it out for a few more hours. Hell, we had a doe run by as we were retrieving the deer.
Right. Yeah.
We could have sat back out. We could have stayed in the stand. I mean, that deer could have sat there for 4 more hours and been fine.
Yep.
But we were both like, fuck it, let's just go. We
Yeah.
got our work cut out for
There
us
wasn't
anyway.
a lot of suffering, but
There's
yeah.
zero suffering. It never happens.
I know.
It never happens.
I mean, I don't know, but I
Dude,
can.
I
can
suffered
imagine.
last year because, like I said, I didn't shoot a deer last year. I wasn't really looking to shoot does. I had one buck that I wanted to kill. Saw him one time, didn't have an opportunity, and I continued to hunt up until January 15th.
Yeah.
Cold as shit. And I suffered, and I had nothing to show for it.
Right.
But that's hunting.
I hear you.
It
I
ain't-
hear you.
It's called hunting for a reason.
Obviously, I didn't expect anything like this to
No.
go down.
God, no. I was expecting you to kill a deer. Wasn't expecting you to kill a hammer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So,
Which was awesome that you did.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
So-
honestly, and I had people that gave me shit. You know, I sent your picture to a group chat of mine, guys, and they're like, "Dude, you're letting all these people shoot these fucking monsters off your property." I go, "It ain't my property."
Right.
I go, "I don't care."
Yeah.
I go, "Honestly, I got more out of this hunt with him killing that deer than I did out of any other deer that I've ever killed."
And there is something to be said for you doing that for other people.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, like I
fucking
said,
great.
I got flack for it, and I'm like, whatever. I'm used to getting shit. I've been getting shit my whole life. I'm the youngest of four.
Yeah.
It don't bother me at all.
Well, sorry.
I
about
played
that.
college sports, dude. I got shit from coaches. I mean, I've been told I'm a fucking idiot.
Right.
I mean, it don't matter.
It's not that bad.
Nothing gets to me.
Yeah.
It's cool. But I was just like, dude, I'm telling you, yeah. Because it's a funny thing, because like I shot a buck, right? My buddy shot a buck. You shot a buck. We shot them all off the same fucking property within
Yeah.
500 yards of each other. And I had the smallest buck out of all three of them.
That is
I
funny.
don't give a fuck.
That's funny.
I
though.
really don't care.
And the irony of it is
It
pretty
is funny. The
you know?
irony is funny.
Yeah.
But at the back of my mind, I'm like, I got 3 deer down. I got meat out the ass. My freezer is completely full.
Yeah, you gotta get a new
That
one.
any deer, because I'm still going to go try to shoot a buck. I still have 2 doe tags.
Yeah.
I bought them for whatever fucking reason. I don't know why. Probably because my one brother wasn't able to come into town to hunt this year. He's going through a job change. He got hired at a new company, pretty sure. And so he just doesn't have the time. Chances are I'll probably go out and shoot him a doe, get it processed, send it to him in a cooler in the mail, and he'll be happy with that.
I got a tag. I'll come get him one and just give it to him, man.
We
I mean,
might-
I'd be happy
hey,
to do that.
If you want to do
I'd
that,
be happy to help
you
him
can-
out, man. I've been helped out big time. So
we
the
can do
least
that
I
too. We
do-
can set that up. But I still have my buck tag, and I fully intend of punching that tag on a big buck. And I probably will not take any of that meat.
Yeah.
And so I have a neighbor who asked me if I was interested in donating it to the firehouse.
I'm into that too. Yeah.
And I was like, well, what I'll probably end up doing is, because they have like share the harvest, which
Sure.
is a cool thing.
Fuck yeah.
But if I can donate it just to the local fire department so they have a bunch of meat,
I'm all about that.
I'll do that too.
All
That's
about
pretty
it.
cool.
Yeah.
And so that's what I told him. I go, well, I'll cape out if I shoot a buck, which I'm fully intending to do. I'll cape it out, and then I'll just give you the body.
Yeah.
And you can legally, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't see why.
You're still punching your tag
Yeah,
and doing
we're
it the
still
right
taking-
way.
what I do with the meat is up to me.
Yeah.
If I donate it to whoever, I mean, if I have to do some legality, I can contact. I have the MDC agent from my county in my phone, like I know her.
Well, when I took it
So-
to the Wright City Meat Company, they asked me, "Are you donating this?"
Yeah.
So that's an option. It's a legal
Yeah,
option.
yeah,
They have a whatever
Right.
church or something.
They
donate to.
do
So
share their harvest. It's
It can't be
basically
illegal.
yeah. The meat gets donated to like the less fortunate or to like to food banks and stuff like that. Which
I'm all about that.
yeah,
Been less
'cause
fortunate a bunch of times.
You can't technically really buy deer meat.
No.
I think
we can't
some
sell it.
meat places
Or yeah, you can.
you can. I don't know if you do it like on the private sector, like private market, like just selling it to people. I don't know if that works. I mean, you can. There's ways around anything.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean,
So-
I've given a lot of deer meat away to people over the years. And,
Yeah.
But it's so damn expensive now, and I'm too lazy to. I mean, I have all the equipment to like make snack sticks, jerky, and all that stuff. Dehydrator, grinder, stuffer. I got
Yeah,
a smoker. I got all that stuff. But like to spend the time like deboning it and doing all that, I don't have the time or
It's
the
a lot of
energy.
work.
I got 2 little kids.
Yeah. Sure.
I got a wife. I got animals. I got no time for that
Business,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, and we're getting into like leaf season and all that stuff, and hopefully snow soon.
Yep.
But I don't have time for that.
I hear you.
And when you shoot as many deer as I shot this year, it gets expensive
adds
getting in the
up.
process. I mean, I've probably spent at least $600 at the processing, just getting it grinded up and put it into bags.
I bet. Yeah.
Into back straps. Because I'll take all that ground up stuff and make my own stuff out of it.
Of course.
Over
yeah.
the winter. When I
Right.
got no time at all to, I got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
So,
So
but-
you brought up, let's go get a photo over by the lake.
right.
I'm like, all right, I'm dragging this guy out of here. I got to do this work. So
Well, yeah, you volunteered. You're like, I'm doing this all myself.
I needed to.
And I'm not gonna lie, man, it hurt me a little bit to not help you because I feel like a schlub.
No,
I'm sitting here
I wanted
walking in
that
front
for
of you.
me.
I mean, I was clearing the path for you,
No,
so
yeah,
you weren't.
I was just
stumbling.
about to say that was huge
But-
because I'd hit a
Yeah.
patch of leaves that made it kind of slick, so
Yeah, oh,
it
yeah.
got a little easier.
Yeah.
But then we got over the lake and there was a little bit of an incline, and I had taken a couple breaks. And
I was like, I'll put this rifle down. and I'll
yeah,
help
you grabbed a side for me, which was much appreciated. So
Yeah.
we got up there, got photos. Jake came over, and we all started talking.
It had a moment. Yeah. It was cool.
yeah. We were kind of hanging, and I learned this from Steve Ranella's buddy, Giannis Patelis. He always takes a little something and puts it in their
The
mouth.
Yugoslavian or whatever he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, or something like that.
Where
He's
the fuck
from.
is he from?
He's from was it like North Africa or he's from somewhere
No,
over that way.
it's European.
Yeah.
Latvia.
Latvia. Yeah, the Latvian eagle. That's what they call
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
but he takes a little something and puts it in their mouth like for the ride. I know that's whatever, but I think that's kind of cool. So I did
Yeah.
that. We got him back to Brady's house, loaded him up, got him back to the house, and we strung him up on the what is that?
tractor.
Yeah,
Yeah, on the loader. So those
on the loader. Yeah,
so those things that they use
That's for hay, huh?
to spread them, they're called gambrels.
right.
And that particular one that I have, one of my cousins actually made me.
Yeah, this is rebar. That's fucking
He's a
cool.
welder.
Yeah.
He made it out of rebar painted orange. It's
I
pretty cool.
noticed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got him up there again. Per my request, Brady and Jake
we
grabbed.
kind of hung back. Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't. I don't even. I mean, I got a little bit of blood on me.
Yeah.
But I didn't get my hands dirty at all. We kind of let you do just.
We cheers to beer.
Oh yeah, we had a few.
So that was
Man
fucking,
sodas.
That was fun. Yeah.
Nothing
so
better than a cold beer at 9:40 in the
It
morning.
was early. Yeah.
Well, because it was funny because I didn't even think to grab a beer. Jake went up to the house to get something. He comes back with a bunch of cold beers, and I'm looking at him. I'm looking back at my phone. I'm like, dude, it's like 9:30. What the fuck are you doing? He goes, dude, deer was just killed. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Go
Yeah.
get me one.
I haven't had a regular beer in a long
Yeah,
time, but
yeah.
like that was the fucking day for it.
Dude, sometimes a cold beer just even when you're not like you're trying to turn one on or not.
No,
but
no.
Just like cutting the grass and it's hot as shit out.
Right.
And just one ice cold one, dude. Sometimes it just hits that spot.
Yeah. So with you guys, both of your supervision and knowledge
yeah.
and guidance on
Yeah.
the whole thing,
You did a clean cape, man.
took a little while, but we worked it out. And
Sometimes slow is smooth. And
I'm
smooth
all right
is
with
fast,
it.
Right?
I didn't need it to go fast. I
Yeah.
just, and temperature wise, you kept reassuring me
Dude,
that
you're
it's not
fine.
like anything was going to
No.
go bad or anything.
No.
So I
Yeah.
got them caped out.
Did a hell of a job.
Thanks,
I mean,
buddy.
honestly, that's probably one of the better ones I've seen.
Had good teachers.
You got it. You got that hide down to where you still a lot of that neck meat was able to be used.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys will just get it past them shoulders and cut that whole neck off. Like there's a lot of good meat on there.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and then that you basically cut it off to the damn near the base of the skull.
Yeah, it was close.
I mean, it was.
got as
I
close
wasn't
as I
down there
could.
when you guys did that because I had to run up and help my wife with some.
No, yeah, I got
with
you.
some stuff on like insurance stuff. But when I came back, the cape was done, and I remember I made a joke. I'm like, shit, I was expecting this damn thing to be gutted by now.
Yeah, no shit. Hurry the fuck up, man.
You know. No, yeah, it did a hell of a job on it.
Thanks, buddy.
I mean, yeah, it was.
I was just listening and paying attention and remembering
You got
some
dirty,
things I've
too.
watched. Yeah.
I mean, I got down there and I was raising the loader up. I was in the tractor and I come back down and you were using your elbow to dig it down, which is a great tactic. And I looked at your sleeve from from your pinky up to your freaking collarbone.
Yeah.
Was just red.
I was digging it out of my nails today.
And the crazy part was the reason it was so bloody was because of that gunshot
Oh,
because
yeah.
you double lunged them.
yeah.
Quartering two, double lung, all that blood on that hide
Yeah.
and on that body was bubbling.
Dude, that was the hardest part. I couldn't get a grip. Even
'cause
if
there
I
was so
went
much-
up under
Yeah.
on the fur, I couldn't get. I just was sliding.
Normally, I mean, because the blood was just pouring out at that point. We had no blood, right? No blood the whole time.
Yeah, it was clean.
And even in the back of my side-by-side bringing him, wasn't that much blood. Most of the blood that was in there was from the other 4 deer that were killed and
Right.
putting that thing this year.
Yeah.
So all the blood was behind that hide.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it did make
It was like, yeah.
for a little more like harder for me first
Yeah.
time, but that just had to be
Maybe
part
next
of the
time we'll
deal.
try the old golf ball trick. We put the golf ball in the hide, tie a rope around it, and then pull it off with the Ranger.
I was wondering if it would work, but to me, it was definitely worth taking my time and just cutting them up. You know,
I mean, you definitely weren't afraid to get your hands dirty. Which,
no,
which
no.
you can't be.
I
Because I know so many guys that that have no problem going out and shooting them, but they don't want to do the dirty work. They don't want to gut them. They don't want to smell it. They don't want. I'm like, how can you not?
I had to experience.
It's not even about the experience. It's just like, if you can't do that part,
you shouldn't be taking a life. Yeah. And I guess everybody has their own thing.
But it's like,
to me though, I think that's a part of it.
Like to me,
but you could also say dropping it off to get it processed is pussy too. So I get that part.
Absolutely.
Everybody's got different shit.
I don't look at I'm just super lazy with that part because I've killed 3 deer this year, right? I'm telling you right now, if I would have done the first one, which was a doe, I shot 2 does and then a buck. The first one, I could have gutted it and deboned it, but those 2 deer I shot at nighttime. And the first one, it was during that antlerless doe portion in October,
right? Which
is the first time Missouri's had that season, where they had a rifle antlerless the first weekend of October.
Huh.
So I wanted to be a part of that, of
sure.
course. So I went out. I didn't even hunt Friday or Saturday. I just went out that Sunday evening because I knew I was going to see deer. I mean, I see 15 deer in my backyard every evening.
Yeah.
Just in my field, not even in the woods. So I shot that one like 80 yards in my woods, dropped her, let her sit, and I went and had dinner with the kids, put them down, or I was doing the process, which champion wife, I mean, she's put up my shit. Dude.
Yeah, she's a beast.
She's not big enough. She's not a big hunter, never shot a gun in her life, doesn't really eat deer meat. We're going to be microdosing her this year, though.
Yeah.
I've told her, I go, look, we got
here,
every bit of 200 pounds of deer meat in my freezer. I'm like, you're going to have to try it. And she's like finally kind of realizing like the money that it'll save too on food. Like,
sure,
if she actually does eat it, I'm like, we can blend it with, I mean, it's already blended, but we can go like, say spaghetti. We'll do half pound of beef, half pound of deer meat mixed with beef.
Ease in a little bit.
We'll microdose you.
Or you just keep eating that shit, come over here and lift all these fucking weights. You'll be a fucking house, dude.
Yeah. I'm like,
that's
the reason you have to really blend it with shit is because, I mean, I'll be honest, like my brother even said this to me a couple of years ago. He's like, I really don't like the way deer tastes. And I'm like, I get that because it has a different taste to it.
Definitely.
But you have to prepare it a certain way.
Yeah.
You have to season it well. You have to do some certain things. I mean, like backstraps, I mean, I could throw that on a grill and eat it. I like the way that tastes.
They're good.
But like when you get the ground up stuff, it does have like, sometimes it can have like a sour, not sour, but sometimes just like a different taste to it.
Well, it's so different from growing up on 80-20.
Yeah.
So it's like
pump with hormones and probiotics and shit.
It's going to be different.
When that meat's pink, and beef is a different taste. I mean,
sure.
Beef and pork are completely different.
Sure.
The taste, everything.
You could say it's an acquired taste.
Yeah, it is 100%.
And depending on who prepares.
People lived on venison for a very long time. Because it was
good lean.
All that was there, really.
Sure.
Unless you got out to bison country.
Sure, yeah.
Because they didn't domesticate cattle in those times.
No.
So they were eating venison.
Yep.
Which is super high in protein, super low in fat.
Yeah.
So you can't just eat that. You have to incorporate some sort of fatty meat like salmon or
I added pork
beef,
into mine.
Pork, yeah. Because you'll get protein sickness if you eat straight venison for months on end.
Right.
It'll make you sick.
That was crazy though. Like I was telling you, the gal at the processor, she was saying that last year a lot of people were doing beef fat.
Yeah.
This year more are doing pork. Now, in my experience, just talking to guys, I never have heard of anything other than pork. So
So
I guess whatever.
I did my first 2 deer, the ground stuff. I mixed it with beef fat, just straight beef fat to give it that flavoring. Because I'm going to use a lot of that meat for cooking. Yeah. And then the buck that I shot, I mixed that with pork fat and pork trimmings. So actual pork meat. Right. And I had them make a lot of breakfast sausage because pork's a big sausage
Of course,
thing.
yeah.
And then so for some reason, like when you do like smoking and stuff, we talked about this a little bit. Pork fat and trimmings will do better in the smoker. Really? When you're making snack sticks, summer sausage, whatever you're doing.
I get it.
Than the beef will. Yeah. Just like when you're smoking pork and you're smoking beef, there's a different way you do it. There's a different way you prepare it, different way you handle it. Yeah. So I was always told, like, when you're going to smoke something or do whatever, pork is a better alternative. You can still do beef, but pork holds it together. For some reason, it's better.
I hear you. I hear you. There's a science behind it.
I'm not a butcher. I'm not a specialist there. I can do the front end of it, but the back end of it, I'm still kind of learning.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. A guy at work, Matt Long, he the whole family will get they're from like Montgomery City. Yeah. The whole family will get all their deer after season. They'll have them all hung up. They got a whole fucking thing going.
Yeah.
But that they have them hung up and waiting, and then they'll pick another weekend later on, and everybody goes up there. Everybody's got a job.
Yep.
You're casing, you're stuffing,
Yeah.
you're mixing,
Oh, yeah.
you're whatever, and everybody's got a
You
job
save
to do.
a lot of money doing
and
it
they
that
get
way.
fucking just a lot of good.
Well, I'm gonna have to figure something out because
But see, I'd like to learn.
we own land in northern Missouri in Macon County, property that my dad had purchased. I want to say, God, I was probably in high school, so sometime between like 2005 and 2010.
Yeah.
Because I graduated in 2010, I'm a baby, and so sometime in there is when he purchased it. He purchased it with money that was from the sale of my grandma's farm
Right.
when she passed away. It was like 40 acres. You pay like 60 grand for it.
Wow.
40 acres
Wow.
for 60 grand, which is probably worth close to 200 now.
No shit.
It's got electric, water, and everything on it. But it's in the CWD containment zone of Macon County where they allow for calling at the end of the season.
Okay.
So between January, so the season ends January 15th, last day of deer season. This season is from January 16th to March 15th. And it's only certain portions of the state are allowed. You get 10 tags. I can put whoever I want on those tags. I can give you 2 tags. I can take 2. I can give my buddy, whoever I allow to hunt the property.
I got you.
And we can use whatever means we want for the most part. You can bait them and you can shoot them at night. You can spotlight them.
Just population control at this
They
point.
want to try to thin out the CWD, and that's a whole nother podcast in its own right. It's
Oh.
talking about the MDC's management of CWD in the state. A lot of mixed reviews on that. I won't even get into that, but I'm thinking this year of taking advantage of it. And not that I really need the meat, because I don't, but I think it would be cool to be a part of that, even though I don't really agree with the way they manage it. But if they're saying that portion is where they're having a big breakout in CWD, then I'll do my part.
Well, ultimately, this is all conservation. You know what I mean? It's all.
Because if we don't do it, then they just don't do it, or we can give them the permission and they send in shooting squads.
I'd rather do it myself.
Yeah,
than
I'd rather do it
somebody
myself.
else.
And so how it works is if the deers test positive for CWD, they take it and dispose of it. If they don't test positive for it, you get to keep the meat. And
What's
keep the deer.
CWD?
Chronic wasting disease.
Oh, okay.
So they call it chronic wasting disease. It's basically like they call it like mad cow disease, but for deer.
Okay.
Very similar.
You don't want that spreading.
I think the last time I read about it, they said you can still eat it, but I don't think I would.
I don't
If
want
I had my choice, I probably wouldn't.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm good.
I don't-
Pass on that.
I don't need that.
But yeah. So I think I'm going to take part of it this year, and I'm thinking about
Setting up your own shop.
well,
Like doing it. I'm saying.
yeah, I think I'm going to end up doing it, going up there. But the problem with this property is it's like really ridgy, flat. There's one flat area, but we also there's a farmer up there who we lease the field to allow the cattle to run on the property. So you kind of have that disturbance too.
Yeah.
So I've hunted it one time in the last 15 years, 20 years. There's deer there. It's a little bit farther than our other farms. And it's going to be a lot of work.
It's worth looking
do
into
it.
though, and
It's
see
worth
if it's
looking into, though.
feasible.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it that first portion of it in January when
Right.
bucks are still holding antlers.
Yeah.
There's no antler restriction. I mean, you can shoot whatever. You can already shoot whatever up there anyways because there's no CWD zone.
Oh, okay.
The whole county. But if they're still holding antlers, then you can potentially shoot a big old buck
Sure.
and still have the antlers.
And there's no reason they're not up there any more than anywhere else.
Right.
You know,
And the pressure around there on hunting is probably pretty high. I would imagine it's a big hunting county.
I'm sure.
Probably one of the top 10 deer harvested counties in the state, I
Hmm.
would say. But I think I'm gonna take advantage of that. So
Well,
if you're interested,
do it once and
may
see
get
what happens. Yeah.
get your name on a couple of the tags. And I
Fuck
think
yeah.
what we'll do is we'll probably one of my buddies has a camper, and just because it's gonna be cold as shit
Yeah.
that time of the year. February, January is when it's usually the coldest.
Oh yeah.
And we'll put a blind up and just throw out some corn, and
A hammer.
I might set up a few cell cameras just to see if we're actually getting a lot of activity
Well,
beforehand, and then
well, never mind. I was gonna say, look at it this way: you could donate that, but I don't know if that would be safe either. So
yeah. I mean, you could, but I don't know how that works too out
Yeah.
of deer season. Like how if they still do the share their harvest, or I don't know how.
But I don't think you'd be doing it if it wasn't like regulating somehow if they need it.
Yeah,
If
I
they
mean,
need
it's
it
all
to
legit.
happen.
Yeah, it's all legit. It's just I'll probably
We'll see what happens.
people that I know that deer hunt that maybe didn't shoot anything during the season.
Sure.
Give them an opportunity to maybe get a deer on the ground,
That's
get
awesome.
some meat, whatever it is.
See, the whole community, they're about like sharing, whether it's the experience or the food or like, at work, we'll set it up where they will set it up where, the guys that are there like appreciate everything you've done and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at least have a sense of like gratitude about it. Cause there's obviously some people just not their thing.
Yeah.
That's
well,
cool
then too, like the camaraderie too around it. I mean, even in the workplace, right? Like nobody wants to go to work and just hate the guys they fucking work with.
No.
That's so unbearable.
Yeah.
Like even like with me, like I have employees that work for me and they didn't see me a whole lot middle of the summer, late summer, because I was out cutting hay. Which, if I didn't, like, when in former jobs that I've had, if I didn't have to see my fucking boss, I'd be happy.
It's not bad.
Right? But they like me being around. And
Yeah.
I mean, and if they don't see me out doing what they're doing in the heat, I'm sitting in the cab tractor with AC blowing, listening to the podcast, listening to music, chilling.
Why am I working my ass off?
But I'm like, I'm doing this too because it's generating revenue. I'm like, you guys are still getting paid. You're doing what you ever do. Everything's hunky dory. We're good to go.
And then you give them the whole week off for hunting.
I give them the whole week off for deer season. I had my one guy who's salaried. He called. He texted me last night. It's just so funny. Texted me last night. He goes, "Hey man, we working Monday?" I'm like, "Tyler, we're working Monday. We always work that Monday. I give you Saturday to Sunday off. If you can't get some deer between then, that's not my problem.
Get to work."
And then I didn't say it like that. But he's been around since 2019. I started my business in 2017. He's in it for the long haul. This is talking about people that want to do it for the, he's getting paid way too much to do what he does in the market. Right. I'm not saying he's not worth it, but I'm saying, based off the market, I can get a hell of a lot cheaper labor, but probably get cheaper quality.
It's good labor, right? It's
great labor. Yeah. So, and I want him at a position too at some point where he's not in the field.
Yeah, running the
shit.
Yeah.
He's basically doing shit so I can go party in Barbados with my wife. You know what I mean?
That sounds good.
So, but yeah, and so I was checking the weather because we were going to start on leaf cleanups tomorrow. And so I was checking the weather. I'm like, well, there's a chance of rain starting around like 11 o'clock. And then I text him, I go ahead and hunt if you want to.
That's cool.
And I'm assuming he didn't shoot anything today because he said he got on a big buck and he wanted to try to give it a chance. So I'll probably end up, which really sucks for me because we're really pushing on time. But I'll probably end up letting him just hunt Monday and Tuesday.
That's cool, man.
Because I know it'll mean a lot more to him.
Fuck yeah,
than it does to me. I mean, what's 1 or 2 days?
Absolutely.
But then we can't work Thursday because it's Thanksgiving. I'll probably give him off Black Friday. I was planning on bow hunting all day on Wednesday because it's my first chance back. I should be able to shoot a buck.
There you go.
So I'm like, probably take 2 weeks off. We should be working, but it is what it is.
I think it's cool.
Been hunting too, so they've been hunting, but they're hourly guys, so it's a little different for them.
Yeah.
He's my main guy, like my main foreman guy. So I
gotta take care of him. He'll take care of you.
Yeah. But,
so I get Elmo dropped off. I don't even.
We didn't talk about.
I didn't even get to tell you all this.
Wait, the meat locker or the
well, the meat locker was a trip too. I did call you about this.
Yeah,
but,
we talked about that. Yeah.
So we had him completely caped out or skinned.
Mm-hmm.
When I pulled up, I backed in and she came up and was like, okay. And we were talking for a minute. I filled out my paperwork. He come out and he got it set up to go get hooked and put in the cooler.
They didn't put it on the ground, right? They just
he put it on his fucking shoulder. I'm like, dude, you want some help?
He carried that sucker?
Yeah. I go, dude, I'm covered in blood.
Those guys are a rare breed than butchers.
I said, dude, I'll help you. He was like, no, I got it. And he fucking hoisted it up, took it inside. So I went around.
Which did he have like a little like cap on?
Yeah, like a welding cap. Yeah. Cool.
That dude.
Cool old dude.
Now, granted, I've been up there 3 times for 3 deer that I've dropped up. Oh, this is Right City Meat Co. we're talking about.
Yeah.
They're under new ownership, and I'm gonna tell you right now. So far, I'm very happy with them this year. It's great. I've taken deer there in the past like decade. This is the best I've seen out of them.
Nice.
They're a little bit pricier than some of the other places, but I think it's worth it so far, in my opinion. However, that guy, he was getting that because when they have not enough room, right? Because there's so many. They had like over 500 deer come in that first 2 days.
I bet.
So we were talking $75,000 to $100,000 worth of revenue from just deer.
Sure.
On top of what they do, beef, lamb, and pork. Their regular old meat locker. So they have like semi trucks to hold, like freezer semi trucks to hold
they
the
were
deer
all
meat.
running.
Yeah. So he goes in there to retrieve my deer. I got 2 big racks of deer meat coming out for that one deer. And this dude's got like a piece of deer meat just stuck to his clothes.
Yeah. He didn't give a
He
fuck.
don't give a
He was
fuck.
in it.
Yeah.
So I go around front to finish up the paperwork. You go around and you kind of tell them what you want to add to it, and all this other stuff. I got like 4 pounds of beef stick. The kids love them. I love them. Got some of those, and then back straps and like it's a kind of like a sirloin tips is how she described it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try something, whatever. But I said, ma'am, is there any kind of taken off of the price for having it skinned already?
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at me and she was like, they took it?
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean? And she was like, we usually don't take them if they're skinned. I was like,
Yeah.
well, again, and I told her straight up.
And
I was like, ma'am, this is my second time ever doing this. You're gonna. She was like, babe, I got you. Cool old country
They're
gal.
super nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, so for the future, like if I'm wanting to mount them, what would I do? And she was like, well, you pay us to cape them for you.
Yeah. Give us another $50 to do.
I was like, all right. Well, I said, look, I really apologize. I didn't know that. She was like, it's okay. If they took it, you're good. That must have mean you did a good job skinning it. So
you did a very good job.
But I said, why is that? And she said that honestly, other hunters have fucked it up.
Yeah.
She said, because what happens is they'll skin them in the field, drag them back to the house or the truck or wherever they do. Now the meat's all dirty.
Dumb.
They drop them off to us.
Yeah.
We give them their meat back, and there's dirt and shit in their meat, and then they come back and complain.
Right.
She's
I
like,
get
so
it. And
she
I
said,
get it.
so we a few years ago we stopped doing that.
I totally get it.
I was like, and I do too. I'm like,
Yeah.
so, look, my bad, but it'll never happen again. She was like, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. So
Sure.
they were cool on that one. So I got them dropped off. You had given me the name of a guy, Jim Lucas.
Yeah,
If
Jim Lucas.
anybody in town here needs a taxidermist, he's right here in O'Fallon.
Does it out of his freaking basement.
Yeah, dude.
He's my age. He's like 31, 32. And it's cool. You go in there, he's like a little like sitting area. He's got some of the mounts of the deer that he's killed.
Yeah.
And then you go into like this like back room. It looks like you're gonna do a cocaine deal. Because it's just like
It looked like a fucking serial killer. There's just
you
blood
just
everywhere.
walk
I'm
into
like, holy fuck.
Ted Bundy's layer.
Yeah.
Because he's got like fluorescent lights and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
like
yeah.
a sink.
It's a
and
legit
There's just deer heads
setup,
everywhere.
yeah.
And they're all tagged, so he knows whose is whose. But that's how a lot of them are.
Yeah. So I get him home. I got him in a bag, his hide, and then his head.
Yeah. Did you fit him in the freezer?
Fuck no.
Oh,
so first of all, I have to take the Thanksgiving turkey out of the freezer, which it needed to come out anyway, start thawing.
sure,
but
thawing, yeah.
So Alicia's like, I said, come out and meet Elmo. She even told me, she's like, I'm really happy for you, but it's like it's sad for me. I said, babe, I get it, but like and the dog was checking him out and shit.
Does she eat meat?
She has before. She's tried
Like
it.
just meat in general though. Like
Oh
or
yeah,
is
yeah,
she-
yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
okay. I
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
sure.
Yep. But venison, not so much until
no.
me, and then she kind of accidentally made a breakfast casserole one year with my venison instead of sausage. I'm like,
Interesting.
babe, it was clearly marked.
How did she? Just the smell of it when you're sautéing it, browning
the look, everything,
completely different.
everything. It's like
Yeah.
red and white, like checkers with venison, not for resale. It's like all
Yeah.
that. It did not look like the Tennessee Pride sausage.
Not
that-
no.
But so it was already done and over with. I had those 2 pounds thawing
Was it
out
good?
to
The
make
breakfast
a chili.
casserole?
It was fucking great, and everybody
bet.
tried. The whole family tried it, and no one said it wasn't good.
Did they know beforehand that it was
Oh,
deer meat?
absolutely. I told
Okay.
her. Chevelle, the oldest, she said, I don't like when deer get killed. So
The idea of it.
yeah, she was
Right.
like, Dad, this is good, but it's just, I was like, dude,
And I think that's what most people struggle with. My
Absolutely.
wife is exactly why she hasn't, is because the idea of it.
yeah, which I completely understand.
And I understand it, but at the same time, my argument is the Steven Ranella argument.
If you saw the beef,
If you saw the way that cheeseburger from McDonald's
Yeah.
was produced before they pumped all that shit in there and kept it frozen in their thing or whatever, you would have never eaten it.
fuck no.
They bring
I don't know
them
if
in.
I would.
Do you know how they do it? I mean, have you seen?
Well-
in most beef processing plants, they bring them in off the old meat wagons, right? The hauling semis.
Yeah.
They put them in this thing. They flip them over, and they punch a bolt.
Yeah, it's
not
like,
even sharp. It
No
looks
Country
like
for Old Men.
Yeah, it looks like a bolt that you would use to fasten a light post down
It's
to
just
the
air
concrete.
pressure, yeah.
Just right through their brain,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they cut their necks, let them bleed out.
Yeah.
and then it's onto the stripping of their hide.
Yeah, I mean, it's
literally so automated and so like the human element is taken out.
manufactured.
It's all yeah.
Well, like chicken coops are the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the pretty sight, but
They're raised inside their whole life, from
Yeah.
egg to killed. They don't. There's no free range about it.
yeah,
And so, like, when you go to the grocery store and you look at the Egg Lynn Best and you look at the Schnucks brand or whatever, and you look on there like cage free doesn't mean they're range free. Cage free means they got to roam around the inside of a shed their entire life.
yeah. I mean,
They weren't in a cage.
It can't be great.
But they weren't out in the elements.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but yet.
That's
I
what,
get it.
That's what people have grown up on. So I
get it.
I told
I get
Chevelle, I completely understand. You don't have to. This is just something I told
Yeah.
you. I told you up front. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I think you should at least give it a shot before you
Sure.
go. And she did. So
Good on her.
So yeah, it didn't fit in the freezer.
Yeah.
So then I switched back to, now I've got the freezer completely bloody. I switched back
Yeah.
to the fridge. I had to take a shelf out of I had to clear out the whole refrigerator in the garage, take a shelf out, and finally kind of maneuvered him to where he would fit. Because I had called Jim to see if I could come drop him off right away.
Right.
And he wasn't working. The shop was closed yesterday, whatever, or that day. So,
Which is weird. You was closing the Friday, but you took it on Saturday?
he might have been out hunting himself. I don't know.
Could have been.
You
Yeah.
know.
That's a hard thing. I don't know how taxidermist guys do it.
Well, I do.
Because they're
I talked to
taking.
him.
When did he hunt?
He said he's only hunted twice this season, just
Yeah.
because his
Because
work.
I know his family has land somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's like big time long distance 338 Lapua guy. Like
Yeah.
we were talking for a little bit, but so I got him in. So
That's
when
a
I
hell
had
of
him
a-
on the phone,
That's around.
I got something. I know. I got something else for you too. When I had him on the phone, I said, "Hey, this is my first buck ever. I'm kind of on my own. Like I left my buddies. I said, do you want me to put him in the freezer?" He said, "Keep him cold the best you can."
Yeah.
I said, "All right, I'll call you in the morning." He's like, "I'll be up. Just come on by." So I went by. Apparently, he wanted me to spread the word about this, that they would rather you not wash them out.
Really?
Yeah, because it makes the tanning process there's a reason why that I
Yeah.
But he said, spread the word. It's easier and cleaner for us if you don't have that thing wet when you bring it in.
Yeah. Well, because think about it, if it's wet and you put it in the freezer, then it's like,
Now you got ice.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
takes
anyway.
longer to dry the hide and tan the hide and all that shit.
And that is this taxidermist's opinion. I am not telling anyone that this is the right or
Sure.
wrong way
Yeah,
to do
I
it.
mean,
This
I
is
don't-
just what this guy said.
I don't know left from right when it comes to that.
Yeah, he's fucking local. So I wanted to use him. He is very fair price from what I've heard.
Yeah.
So
The last year that I got mounted was in 2021. $650 was the total price. Took 17 months to get it back.
yeah.
This is out in Eolia. I called him again because he did a really good job. So I'm like, okay, I'll be a repeat customer. Went from 650 to 900
Yeah.
after basically one season. 220.
I mean, how many people
I
can
was
do
like,
that job correctly? You know, they can kind
hey,
of
dude,
name the price.
and I'm not going to sit here and say he was overpriced because I know it's a lot of work.
yeah.
I know costs
Slow,
went up.
tedious.
I get it. I get it.
Yep.
But I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, man.
$900.
Yeah.
Because I got mine mounted from last weekend. And so I called my buddy Kale, who big hunter from here. And I'm like, man, where'd you take your deer at? He's like, Jim Lucas, I found. I'm like, give me the number. And so I took it there. And I'm thinking Jim Lucas. I'm like, this guy's probably like 60 years old.
Yeah, I
been
know.
doing it his whole life. I text him like, hey, man, I'm here. He comes out and I'm like, this dude's my age.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, hey, what? But he's been doing it for like 5-6 years, he said.
No, more than that. So check
Well,
this out.
more than that.
I
Oh,
had
okay.
I texted him and said, "Hey, I'm out front." His wife came out
Okay.
and was like, "Hey," I said, "Morning," and she said, "If you want, just go ahead and bring him around back." So I brought
Yeah.
him back around the back, and I mean, like it's a whole setup
Yeah.
of shit I've never seen. As a matter of fact, I talked to him while we were going. I'm like, "Hey, I do a podcast. Like, I just am into interesting people.
Yeah.
Would you be willing? Like, is that? I know some people just don't
Sure.
want to do that." He was like, "Oh hell yeah, man! I listen to tons of, but give me your show." And
That
all
would be
shit."
cool to
Yeah.
have him come on and just hear his, because he's on the complete flip side. I mean, he's a hunter, obviously, but he's on the other side of the non-meat, the non-side of it,
Oh yeah.
the niche side of it. 'Cause
Yeah,
not
yeah.
everybody,
Well, it's an art
one,
form.
can afford to do it because it is expensive.
Sure.
Even at $750, it is expensive.
Yeah.
Now, I think, like I was telling you, when I'm like, dude, you got to get this deer mounted. Just make it work.
Oh, I
Which
agree.
is me completely out of line.
No, I will.
Because I can't tell you what to do with your own money. But I'm like, it's only a $200 deposit. And I'm like, you won't have to pay the remainder for another year, give or take.
Yeah.
I'm like, just figure it out.
And I will. And
Which is out of pocket for me. I shouldn't have said that. But I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, in the long run, you'll be happy you did it as opposed to a European mount. Because a European mount, you can fuck that up so easily.
Yeah. Well, from you saying that and other guys that I trust also, I know that I made the right decision.
And I'm telling you, dude, you may have to do a little legwork to get it in the house, but don't put that thing in the garage.
No, fuck no. I told Alicia when you're coming down our steps, we went on a couples retreat.
Right on the square when you come down looking straight at it?
Well, hang on, because that was the weekend that we knew we were going to get married. So that photo's it's super important to me.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention when I was coming in.
It's really important to me, but I did make the joke. I was like, hey, what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to take that stupid fucking photo down and hang it right. She was like, what did you just say? I'm like, I'm totally kidding.
She's like, oh, you're going to hang it in the basement?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll keep him on my wing of the house and stuff. But so Jim said 12 months or less.
Yeah, that's what he told me. Yeah, which is good time.
Yeah.
Anything 9 to 12 months is insane.
Well,
you saw how many antlers were in there. Now, not all those are getting mounted, shoulder mounts.
I hear you.
But it's still like even European mounts, man. You boil them. You do it too long, it's terrible.
It's a process.
The smell is terrible.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, some guys will bury them and let the maggots do the work.
Yep.
But then if you don't have the antlers covered up well enough, they'll get bleached. The squirrels will chew on them.
Yeah.
So much. Yeah. I just don't want to fuck with it.
Well, and so I walked in and I'm like looking around. I'm like, damn, that's a hell of a workload. He was like, well, this is only a portion of it, So, but I'd asked him. I said, how does a guy get into this? This is my point. And when I mentioned to him about the podcast, he's like, so is it a hunting? And I'm like, dude, if it was a hunting podcast, I wouldn't be coming to you like a fucking nerd with my first buck. Because I was like, hey man, I don't know what to do. You're gonna have to help. He's like, dude, I got you.
Starry-eyed.
Oh fuck, I was giddy and 10 foot tall, But I was like, no man, it's there's not like a core subject matter that I like. I'd like to talk to interesting people about cool shit,
Yeah.
So
there's just real world people about cool shit. Yeah.
So he said,
I wouldn't say I'm interesting, but
this is very interesting. I promise. He said, when you come back to get them, we'll set it up.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a cool. So now I wrote this little story to my son someday. I've got my buddy that took me on the hunt to get this fucking awesome buck. Yeah. And then I'll have the taxidermist who set him up for him. You know what I mean? I think that'll be a real...
Let it come full circle, yeah.
But some shit I didn't know. I knew that you could have different poses, right? I know that there are
This is
options.
something that I wanted to talk to you about tonight, too.
I know there are other options, and I was asking him. So over on the wall, he has what he calls a form.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little yellow.
Yeah, it's just like
foam.
Yeah. So I asked him. I was like, because he had one sitting over there. It looked. I don't know if it was a customer's or what it was, but it was like a full creep, is what he called it, and it looked fucking cool.
Yeah.
And he said it's not more work or anything. He was like, it's just. I'm just telling you.
What do you want it to look like?
Generally, guys. First.
So do you want to hear my take on that? Because I wanted to tell you. This is literally what I thought about today when I was like, what do I want?
Yeah,
this
right.
is one thing I want to tell you.
Yeah.
So I look at that and I'm like, all right, how was that deer looking at me when I shot it? That's what I want the mount to be.
It was the full creep.
So you know what I mean? Because he was quartering to you and he was turning to the right a little bit, but it was like a long turn because
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was kind of like, he's broadside kind of, but he's like this, but then he was like also like this.
And that's what it reminded me of, that full creep, him kind of looking around.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make that decision. He didn't talk me in or out of anything, but he said that form is from a guy like up Kirksville area that makes forms. And he was like, I like to keep my money local if I can, which I'm totally with.
Yeah.
And I think what it'll do, he and I talked about it. I think what it's going to do is accentuate the size of that neck.
Yeah.
So I got him on I forgot what he fucking called it, a Midwest something. I forgot, but it was a standard kind of from neck up, it kind of looking to the left a little bit, which is the opposite of the way I was seeing him. But I don't really feel the need to get too picky about that part, because I think it'll show that big fucking neck, which is like, besides his antlers being broken and me imagining that he was like a fighter. That neck is my favorite part.
He was a fighter.
You know,
Yeah.
that fucking big giant neck. It just looks cool to me.
Also, too, you got to think about like placement in your house where it's going to go.
Exactly.
Is it going to work in that area if I turn it this way or that
Right.
way?
And I still have no clue.
Like where I have them at my house, it could go anyway.
Yeah, yours is really nice sitting up there, though. It looks good.
Right above the kitchen table.
Yeah, it looks
and there's
fucking
room
cool.
for 2 more.
Exactly.
My wife goes, "At what point is too many? Is there too many?" I go, "There's no."
That's
too
an
many."
open-ended question, Ashley.
I go, "No," because they got plenty of room going down the steps.
Yeah. I mean,
Basement's gonna be finished
Yeah.
here in the next 6 months. I'm like, no.
we're getting full.
I go,
But-
I gotta get at least 2 every year. I go, that's what I'm allowed.
Yeah.
I go, why not?
Yeah.
You know?
But he was telling me something I didn't know, of course. Setting their ears back behind the antlers,
yeah,
it again accentuates
the rack.
the rack
Yeah.
kind of like because he said I've seen them before, and if the antlers are kind of out, it takes your eyes like it's just a visual kind of mind game where your eyes start to see those ears instead of the rack. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. So I mean, of course, I had to take a lot of his suggestions
Yeah.
on, but
Oh,
I know
of
they were
course.
good. You know, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
he's not
like
gonna
he was-
bullshit you.
No.
He knows it looks good.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I would have videotaped because I mean I have an iPhone 10R, so they have a decent enough camera and zoom.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had the wherewithal to like pull it up and be like zoom in a little bit, but I was so focused on just keeping my eyes on the deer
I'm glad you did.
that I didn't do that. But I'm like, that'd have been pretty cool to have like a picture or video of him before you shot.
It's one of those
That would have
things.
been pretty cool.
I agree, but I kind of like, you know how like when people go to a concert and they have their phone out the whole time? I
Yeah,
think that's fucking silly. Like
Dude,
I'm
glad
kind of glad that you and I are the only ones that have the actual.
it was an organic
what
feeling.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
like everybody's got cameras out with all these fucking holster. It's like
Yeah.
that's too many.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I get
man.
that too. Yeah, it
I
makes sense.
I just like when I'm at a show or whatever, I want to be watching
Oh,
with my
God,
own
dude,
eyes.
yeah.
You know, I don't
I
take
don't
enough
even-
photos of my kids with my camera because I want to be watching
In the
them
moment,
play.
yeah.
Man, fuck that. So, but I did think about that, and of course, it would have been kind of cool and
Yeah.
to see like him. But I like
because I still have it like in Grant like it was. I mean, it literally was damn near yesterday, but
right.
2 days ago. But I can still see him standing there looking at us,
Yeah,
just like
I said in this letter.
you know, all broad shouldered, big neck.
Yeah,
You know,
I
looking dominant.
I said in this letter, I honestly did not even see. I saw a rack. Like I saw. I know
You
that
see the body,
but
you
I
can't
wasn't.
really see them with your own eyes when they're that far away.
I was not counting.
Especially when they're looking head on, because their rack usually the tines are going to be in line with each other.
Right.
So you're seeing whatever's in the front, and let's be real, the front 2 little crab claws aren't the biggest.
Yeah.
If they were bigger, I mean, it'd make this deer even like more
Yeah.
massive. But he was still a big rack deer. He was just thick masted, just
Yeah.
Huge.
I saw enough to know, and by your, like I already said, your language and expression,
yeah.
I knew that wasn't my focus. My focus was on shot placement and,
Of course,
follow
yeah.
through and all that shit. But like I said in here, man, I didn't see his rack. It wasn't
Yeah.
like I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Holy shit, he's a
Yeah.
10. I did not.
Yeah.
I did not even.
Oh God, no!
It wasn't even my
And like I said, it just happens too fast,
dude. Yeah, and
It always happens too fast.
And like we said, he was looking
This
like he
time of
was still
year.
wanting to run. So
Yeah.
it was like I didn't have time to go fucking.
the
looking
only
at
time I
points.
think hunting where you really have time is early season when they're on food, because they're just sitting there moping around, eating,
Yeah.
head down, doing something.
Yeah,
Or late season when they're just kind of like slow walking like zombies.
yeah,
Because they're all tired. They're just trying to find a food source to put back weight
sure.
to be warm for the winter. It's this time of the year where it's like, dude, you gotta freaking make a quick decision.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like
Otherwise, you're gonna get burnt.
I feel like we had this little quiet conversation about if you want it, you have to take it right this second.
Yeah.
And so I made that choice, and
Yeah,
it all went
It
so
all
fucking
went-
perfect. But
dude, yeah, like was it Jake that said go buy a lotto ticket?
yeah.
Because I mean, dude, your luck is on your side.
I'm
today.
telling you, man, I couldn't be like happier and more grateful
Dude,
and
it
thankful.
was-
And thank you so much again, Brady. It's
Man.
like you've made some shit happen. You don't even realize. I
Yeah.
know you're happy, but like
Dude,
it was a
great.
fucking awesome
It
experience.
was awesome. Like I tell my wife, dude, it was just a cool feeling to be a part of that, and you know, I don't take that for granted. I mean, granted, I gained. I mean, physically, like I gained 0. You know, I was doing
Well,
that.
yeah,
I,
I hear
I
you.
had to get up a little early.
Right.
I had to do whatever. I mean, you know, and I didn't have to do any of that. I mean,
No.
I thought it would be a good time and
Dude, yeah.
get you on a deer. I mean, I wasn't expecting to get you on a deer, but
I don't-
it worked out well.
I
And
definitely wasn't either. Yeah.
I mean, it was a cool experience, and like I would do it again 10 times out of 10.
Awesome day.
And hopefully we can get you back out next year.
Let's
and-
just see what happens,
or
man.
maybe even again this year.
One
Hell.
day at a time,
I mean, if you want to get out,
I'm with it.
we'll get you out
I
and
had so much fun.
hopefully make you suffer a little bit.
Yeah,
Get you-
I know.
Puts you in a stand with the wind blowing on you, and
You know what? It needs to fucking rain the whole time. That's what I deserve.
Oh,
some
fuck,
rain,
dude.
I deserve it.
Rain, unless I'm in a blind and I got cover and my gun's not getting soaking wet.
Yeah,
I ain't out in the rain.
Yeah, it
Snow
sucks.
I can do.
it sucks, but
I'll do snow, but rain,
sometimes it's part of the deal.
because they're still moving in the rain.
Yeah,
The one thing that everybody overuses and abuses is can't kill them from the couch.
right.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
cannot
gotta
kill
get
'em
out
from the
there.
Couch. You got to be out there and in it.
Well, hey, what is your website or Facebook or anything for anybody local that might need any services?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about the business at all, but yeah, it's SwiftLawnCareLLC.com is their website.
I'm vouching for him. Check him out. He does good work and
Yeah,
he's
we-
fair and everything else.
Yeah, we just local small business.
Yep. Small
and-
for now.
Yeah, I mean,
It's growing.
if you ain't growing, you ain't moving.
That's right.
You're losing.
Well, buddy,
So-
I'm gonna let you get to the family. I know you got to get
Yeah.
dinner and all that. Thanks again so much. You did a real game changer for me, and it's something I won't soon forget.
Cool.
I appreciate
loved
you,
every
buddy.
minute of it.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm glad I got to share this with you guys too. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon, man. If you're out there hunting and you hear this, be safe and have a good time. And I like to talk about like doing good things for other people, and this is one of those things that if you know somebody that might want to go out, I don't know, take them out or at least let them go sit there with you. It can't hurt anything, and you never know. You could give them the kind of happiness and pleasure and joy and all that shit that I feel. So take care of yourselves, do something good for somebody, and just try to be nice to each other as much as you can, man. Take it easy.